Chapter 1530. Han Sun frowned and pondered for a while before he nodded. All right, let's do that. With that, Han Sun's gaze turned serious as he scanned the disciples of Divine Dragon Valley. Everyone has to listen to my arrangements for the next round. If anyone dares to make decisions on their own like you did, they will be punished according to the sect rules. Don't blame me for being merciless. Yes, senior brother. Many people nodded their heads in agreement. Senior brother, what is your plan? Why don't you tell us? Incheng said coldly. You will know when the time comes. Now, all you have to do is listen to my arrangements. Han Sun's gaze swept across the Silver City with a trace of coldness. Incheng's face darkened and he did not say anything. After he lost, he did not return to the platform. Instead, he went to the spectator stand behind the platform and the competition continued. Platform number 11, number 12, and number 13. When the Demon Castle Challenge on platform number 13 ended, the first round of the competition officially ended. In the first round, the true experts did not participate. Most of them were not very strong. Only Divine Dragon Valley was targeted by the three major sects and suffered heavy losses. After one round, they lost 4 people. As for Heavenly God Sect and Life and Death Sword Faction, no one challenged them. Currently, Heavenly God Sect seemed to be the number 1 sect in Song State. They were so powerful that the other sects were wary of them. Although Life and Death Sword Faction had fewer people, their individual strength was shocking. Every disciple of Life and Death Sword Faction was not to be underestimated. Moreover, the Life and Death Sword skill of the Life and Death Sword sect required a life and death battle to be fought. It was a killing technique that everyone feared. After the first round, a few sects did not suffer any losses. For example, Heavenly God Sect, Sky Demonic Sect, Poison Desire Sect, and Life and Death Sword Faction. After the first round, it was time for the second round. In the second round, Heavenly God Sect sent someone to challenge Divine Dragon Valley. Without a doubt, Heavenly God Sect sent out another expert to challenge a weaker disciple of Divine Dragon Valley. He killed the disciple of Divine Dragon Valley on the platform. Then, Sky Demonic Sect did the same and killed another disciple of Divine Dragon Valley. When it was Poison Desire Sect's turn, they killed another disciple of Divine Dragon Valley. The atmosphere in Divine Dragon Valley was getting more and more tense. Looks like Dragon God Valley is going to be the first to be eliminated. That's right, and many of them will be killed. Many of the geniuses in this batch will die. What a great loss. The members of the other sects and clans all shook their heads and sighed. The challenges continued, and soon it was Dragon God Valley's turn. Wang Fei, it's your turn. Don't challenge the Celestial Divinity Sect, the Empyrean Demon Sect, or the Poison Sect. You can choose from the other sections. Han Sun pointed at a young man. Wang Fei. Everyone from the Dragon God Valley looked at Han Sun in surprise. Now, wasn't it their turn to counterattack? Shouldn't they send out an expert to kill someone from the Heavenly Divinity Sect? Why did they send out Wang Fei? Wang Fei was only a 4th-layer martial emperor. He was considered the weakest among the remaining people of the Divine Dragon Valley. Moreover, he wasn't allowed to challenge the 3 great sects of the Heavenly Divinity Sect. The others were astonished. Wang Fei himself was also stunned. Go. Han Sun spoke again. Roger. Wang Fei nodded and flew up to the fighting ring. He chose a disciple of the Intentionless Saber Sect, whose cultivation was similar to his. The two fought fiercely. After exchanging more than 100 blows, Wang Fei was knocked out of the ring. Dragon God Valley, what's the meaning of this? I don't understand. It's finally their turn. Instead of sending out an expert to counterattack, they sent out a weakling to challenge the other sections. I really don't understand what the Dragon God Valley is trying to do. It's simple. The Dragon God Valley is forced to give up the chance to counterattack to protect their weaker disciples. Otherwise, they would be killed by the 3 great sects. That's right. Many people discussed among themselves. They finally understood the Dragon God Valley's decision. With this, they could at least protect some of their disciples. Humph, how sad. Let's eliminate the Dragon God Valley first. They won't even be able to take part in the treasure pedestal, the leader of the Heavenly Divinity sect said with a hollow laugh. Haha, that's right. I heard that the Dragon God Valley is well prepared to come first in the treasure pedestal. I wonder what would happen if they couldn't even take part in the treasure pedestal. The geniuses of the Heavenly Divinity sect, who were rank 7 Martial Royal Realm and above, laughed mockingly. Some of the geniuses of the Heavenly Divinity sect, who were rank 7 Martial Royal Realm and above, looked gloomy. Lu Ming was the only one who looked calm on the 10th platform. Just wait, the counterattack will begin soon. Lu Ming muttered to himself. The competition continued. Soon, the second round came to an end. The Dragon God Valley was still the most miserable sect. 3 of them were killed and 1 was defeated. After 2 rounds, 6 of them were killed and 2 of them were defeated. Only 28 out of 36 were left. The third round began. Just like the previous round, the Heavenly Divinity sect, Empyrean Demon sect, and Desire Poison sect sent out their experts to challenge the weaklings of the Dragon God Valley. They had come prepared. Although the young man of the Dragon God Valley rushed down the fighting stage as soon as he attacked, the opponents sent out were much stronger than him. They managed to kill another 3 of the Dragon God Valley's disciples. When it was the Dragon God Valley's turn, Han Sun sent out a weak disciple to challenge the other sections. He was defeated but managed to survive. Soon the third round ended. 9 of the Dragon God Valley's disciples were killed and 3 were defeated. A total of 12 people were eliminated. At this point, the young men of the rank 4 Martial Royal Realm had either died or been defeated. Only Lu Ming was still a rank 4 Martial Royal Realm cultivator. Everyone in the Dragon God Valley looked gloomy and the atmosphere was heavy. Ah, damn it, Han Sun. Why didn't we send out our experts to fight back? Send me in the next round. I want to kill these sons of bitches. Tian Chue waved his big hammer and roared angrily. He was extremely anxious. Lu Ming and Han Sun looked cold and did not say anything. Xuaningxin glanced at Lu Ming, deep in thought. Then the fourth round began. It was the Heavenly Divinity sect's turn again. Whoosh! A figure jumped onto the fighting stage on the first platform. Boom! A powerful aura burst out from his body. Rank 6 Martial Royal Realm. The Heavenly Divinity sect started to send out rank 6 Martial Royal Realm cultivators because the remaining people in the Dragon God Valley were all rank 5 Martial Royal Realm cultivators and above. The person looked arrogant and looked at Lu Ming. In the end, he said with a cold smile, Lu Ming, get down here and accept your death. He wants to challenge me? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Lu Ming, kill him. Kill this bastard. Tian Chue shouted. Don't worry, Lu Ming said. He stepped out and appeared on the fighting stage. Lu Ming, how dare you kill the people of the Heavenly Divinity sect again and again? Chapter 1531. Soon, there will be one more member of the Heavenly God sect dying in my hands. Lu Ming said coldly. Haha, ridiculous. Lu Ming, I know your strength is impressive, but it's mostly due to your sacred weapon. Now that you can't use your sacred weapon, how strong can your strength be? I'm a 6th layer martial dominator. Killing you will be a piece of cake. The young man of the Heavenly God sect burst out laughing. His aura grew stronger and more shocking. Without a doubt, this young man of the Heavenly God sect was a powerful genius. He had cultivated a mid-tier earthly spiritual body, which was extremely powerful. Among the geniuses of the Heavenly God sect, his talent was comparable to Shi Tian's. With his strength, he could easily defeat someone with a higher cultivation. Furthermore, Lu Ming was only a 4th layer martial dominator. He was confident that he could kill Lu Ming without using his sacred weapon. Nonsense, come on, use your full strength. Lu Ming said calmly, "Since you're so eager to die, I'll send you on your way. Die." The genius of the Heavenly God sect emitted a brilliant sacred glow as a godly retribution spear appeared in his hand. The godly retribution spear penetrated the rift and stabbed toward Lu Ming. Its terrifying sharpness whistled in the heavens and earth, as if it could penetrate everything in the world. The genius of the Celestial God sect used his killer move right away. He wanted to kill Lu Ming in one move. Roar! The cry of a dragon could be heard coming from Lu Ming's body. Following this, the chaotic domain wrapped around Lu Ming's fist as he threw out a punch. The hell-suppressing heaven skill was unleashed. The punch was aimed at the godly retribution spear. You dare to use your fist against my godly retribution spear? Die! The genius of the Heavenly God sect snapped. The people of the Heavenly God sect on the platform and the spectators stand smirked coldly. However, their smirks stiffened at the next moment. Bang! Lu Ming's fist blasted the Divine Punishment Spear. The Divine Punishment Spear exploded instantly. Lu Ming's fist blasted toward the other party as if it was crushing dry weeds and rotten wood. No, no! The young man's eyes widened as he screamed in his heart. He had thought he could kill Lu Ming's attack with a single blow. He did not even set up a defense, but it was too late. Bang! Lu Ming's fist collided with the young man's body. The young man's body's body instantly exploded into pieces. He was dead. The genius of the Celestial Divine Sect, a 6th-level martial emperor expert, had been killed by Lu Ming with one punch. Trash is a piece of trash. He stretched out his hand and sucked the storage ring of the Celestial God Sect's genius into his hand. Kills is S. Tion's SSS skills SS. He's mine's is. Sect. S is sex hand sect. Two's is there. S mind. S heart. Mind. S God. Of the God. Of the God. S two's B's. SS God's minds. Damn it, it's Lu Ming again. Many people from the Heavenly God sect were enraged. Leave Lu Ming to me. I want him to die a horrible death. Lu Quan was careless just now. Leave Lu Ming to me. The other geniuses from the Heavenly God sect shouted angrily. All right, I'll be waiting. Come and challenge me then. Lu Ming looked at the Heavenly God sect coldly. Then he glanced at the Sky Demon sect and the Poison sect. Dragon God Valley's counterattack will begin soon. Lu Ming's body flashed, and he returned to the fighting ring. Let's continue, the leader of the Heavenly God sect shouted as he looked at the Sky Demon sect. Don't worry, the Dragon God Valleys. And is already decided, the leader of the Sky Demon sect sneered. He then sent out an expert to challenge a rank 5 Martial King from the Dragon God Valley. The rank 5 Martial King from the Dragon God Valley was also very strong. He tried his best to rush down the fighting ring, but he was almost killed at the edge of the fighting ring. Then it was the Poison Sect's turn. Another person from the Dragon God Valley was killed. The Life and Death Sword Sect issued a challenge on the 8th fighting ring. Until now, the Life and Death Sword Sect had not lost a single person. Whoosh! Sword radiance flashed, and a figure appeared on the fighting ring. This person was Luo Xiang, whom Lu Ming had met in the San Emperor's secret territory. Luo Xiang looked around, and his gaze landed on a rank 6 Martial King on the Heavenly God Sect's fighting ring. He said, "You fight with me." Many people were surprised. The Life and Death Sword Sect was challenging the Heavenly God Sect. The Heavenly God Sect's genius, who was being challenged, looked gloomy as he stepped onto the fighting ring. He looked at Luo Xiang and said, "Make your move! Make your move first, otherwise you won't have a chance." Luo Xiang said coldly, "How arrogant! Let's see what you've got." The Heavenly God Sect's genius shouted. A divine retribution spear appeared and stabbed towards Luo Xiang. Clang! A sword radiance flashed from Luo Xiang's hand. It was too fast. Almost no one could see how Luo Xiang had attacked. The sword radiance flashed across the sky. In the next moment, Luo Xiang's sword returned to its sheath. You, the heavenly god Sek's genius, opened his eyes wide and stared at Luo Xiang unwillingly. Then his body was split into two. Dead. A rank 6 martial king of the heavenly god sect had been killed by Luo Xiang with a single slash. How powerful! Is this the life and death sword sect's sword technique? It's too terrifying. Luo Xiang is only a rank 5 martial king. Many people exclaimed. More people felt a chill run down their spines. How could they dodge such a slash? This Luo Xiang is indeed not simple. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with amazement. He had heard that Luo Xiang was a peak martial saint and had been cultivating his sword soul for 15 years. Such a person was extremely terrifying. Now that Luo Xiang had broken through and obtained the Sword Dao inheritance in the Emperor's secret territory, he had truly soared. In a short period of time, his cultivation had skyrocketed and he had reached rank 5 martial king. Moreover, he had killed a genius of the heavenly god sect with a single slash. Such a person would become more terrifying the longer he had broken through to the martial king realm. Back in the Emperor Tsang's secret territory, Luo Xiang had just broken through to the martial king realm and his potential had not been fully unleashed. Now he was truly terrifying. Luo Xiang, our heavenly god sect has not offended your life and death sword sect. Why did you kill our people? The leader of the heavenly god sect asked coldly. It's simple. I don't like you, Luo Xiang said indifferently. Then he stepped out and returned to the life and death sword sect's platform. Good job, good job. I'm starting to like this Luo Xiang. Tian Chui grinned. The competition continued. When it was Dragon God Valley's turn, Han Sen sent out the person with the lowest cultivation level to challenge the other sect's geniuses. The person was defeated. Soon, the 4th round was over. In this round, Dragon God Valley had lost 2 people, lost 1 and won 1. There were still 21 people left. However, up until now, those who remained in Dragon God Valley were getting stronger and stronger. Chapter 1532. From the 5th round onwards, the survival rate of the Dragon God Valley increased. Although the Heavenly God sect, Empyrean Demon sect, and Desire Poison sect continued to send out their experts to challenge the weaker members of the Dragon God Valley, it became more difficult to kill them. In the 5th round, one person managed to escape from the fighting stage, saving his life. The other 2 had almost escaped from the fighting stage, but they were killed in the end. In this round, the Dragon God Valley had lost 2 and lost 2. There were 17 people left. No one challenged Lu Ming in this round. It seemed that they were not confident and wanted to wait until the end of the round. In the 6th round, the Divine Dragon Valley lost again, but they managed to keep their lives. Although the Divine Celestial Sect and the other 2 sects wanted to kill the Divine Dragon Valley's people, they were all pushed off the battle stage. The atmosphere in the Dragon God Valley finally became better. After this round, there were 13 people left in the Dragon God Valley. Other than the Life and Death Sword faction, the Dragon God Valley had the least number of people left. This was only the 6th round, and most of the other sects still had around 30 people left. Some of the smaller sects had around 20 people left, while others had close to 30. The Heavenly God sect and Empyrean Demon sect had around 30 people left. Then, 2 more rounds passed. There were only 5 people left in the Dragon God Valley. They were Lu Ming, Han Sen, Tian Chui, Xuanixin, and Ziyu. After so many rounds, no one had challenged Tian Chui and Xuanixin. In the battle 10 days ago, Tian Chui and Xuanixin had displayed their terrifying battle prowess. To be able to fight against Emo, He, Wu Qindu, and other geniuses, their battle prowess was incomparably strong. It was normal that they had not been challenged before. At this point, the 8th round had passed. From the 9th round onwards, the Heavenly God sect's faces started to turn sour. The remaining 5 people from the Dragon God Valley were not weak. They did not know who to challenge. "I'll go and kill Lu Ming." A young man in the 6th layer of the martial royal realm stepped out and flew onto the fighting stage. "Lu Ming, come out." The young man in the peak 6th layer of the martial royal realm condensed a spear of divine punishment and pointed it at Lu Ming. "That's what I want." Lu Ming smiled coldly. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Buzz! Buzz! Whoom! The heavenly god sex genius emitted a light screen from his body. Even the armor of an emperor spiritual weapon appeared. Evidently, that person had learned his lesson. From the very start, he had set up layers of defenses around himself. He's much more careful now, but he's still going to die. Lu Ming said, "Shameless boasting. You're the one who's going to die. Kill." The heavenly divinity sex genius shouted. He took a step forward and turned into a ray of sacred light, rushing towards Lu Ming. Whoosh! The spear of divine retribution streaked across the void, emitting a terrifying whistling sound. Boom! Lu Ming punched out, colliding with the spear of divine punishment. With a loud explosion, Lu Ming remained motionless, while the other party retreated several steps. "Your combat strength is just SOO." Lu Ming smiled faintly. "I'm not done yet." The other party snapped furiously as a milky, white book flew out from his forehead. The book was an emperor spiritual weapon. The book flipped open, emitting rays of white light that landed on the figure of the heavenly divinity sex genius. His aura became stronger. A long spear appeared in his hand, which was milky white in color. He lashed out with the spear, which was stronger than before. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming threw out a few punches in succession. Terrifying fist intense swept across the void, aiming at his opponent. His opponent kept lashing out with his spear, which transformed into terrifying spears of divine punishment that collided with Lu Ming's fist intense. Terrifying explosions took place on the fighting stage. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged more than 10 blows. That Lu Ming's strength is incredible. He's only a peak 4th layer martial dominator realm cultivator, yet he's able to fight against a peak 6th layer martial dominator realm genius. It's indeed terrifying, but Lu Ming's cultivation is 2 layers lower than his. I'm sure he's going to lose. Not necessarily. The person from the heavenly divinity sect only has a middle tier earthly astral body, while Lu Ming has a superior tier earthly astral body. The crowd discussed among themselves. Die. The strength of the genius from the heavenly divinity sect became even more ferocious as he continued to attack Lu Ming. "Is this your limit? Let's end this then," Lu Ming said in a cold tone. Boom! It was as if Lu Ming's fist intent could penetrate the void, shattering the spears of divine punishment that the genius from the heavenly divinity sect had thrown out. Bang! Then Lu Ming took a step forward and threw a punch that destroyed everything. He landed a heavy blow on the other party's chest. The force surged and broke through several layers of the other party's defense, bombarding the other party's armor. The armor vibrated as the genius from the heavenly divinity sect was sent flying. He slid on the fighting ring for a long distance and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now. Now, Lu Ming unleashed his full strength. Although his opponent's cultivation was 2 layers higher than his, Lu Ming's astral body and chaotic domain were much stronger than his opponent's astral body and chaotic domain. He was able to make up for the difference between their cultivation levels. The genius from the heavenly divinity sect, was furious. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so powerful. Die! Lu Ming took a step forward and closed in on his opponent. "I have an emperor's spiritual weapon to protect me. You can't kill me." The genius from the heavenly divinity sect roared and retreated quickly. "Is that so?" Lu Ming sneered as an emperor's spiritual weapon spear appeared in his hand. Swoosh! The long spear pierced towards his opponent. 13 strike. The terrifying spear radiance shattered his opponent's counterattack and pierced his armor. "It's useless," his opponent shouted. However, in the next moment, his face changed drastically and became filled with fear. At the tip of Lu Ming's long spear, 13 layers of attack power were instantly stacked and erupting with terrifying, penetrating power. Puff! The terrifying, penetrative power directly pierced through the other party's spiritual emperor armor. The long spear pierced through the other party's heart. Buzz! Then, the long spear vibrated and the land of destruction exploded. His opponent's spiritual deity disappeared before he could escape. The genius from the heavenly divinity sect was dead. Hiss! Gasps could be heard from the crowd. A genius who had cultivated a medium earth spiritual body and was at the peak of the 6th layer martial royal realm was killed by Lu Ming. The genius from the heavenly divinity sect wanted to kill Lu Ming, but he was killed by Lu Ming again. This level of prodigy was considered the pinnacle of existence among all the participants of the treasure peddling meeting, except for the prodigies who had cultivated the superior earth spiritual body. However, a superior earth spiritual body was extremely rare. There were not many of them in the entire Tsangzhou. Of the 13 top sects in the treasure sorting meeting, each sect had at most 1 or 2 superior earth spiritual bodies. Some sects did not even have one. It could be said that Lu Ming's combat strength was one of the top geniuses in the treasure sorting meeting. Chapter 1533. Good job! Tian Chue yelled excitedly. So did the people from Dragon God Valley. The Celestial Divinity sect had lost 3 level 6 martial royal realm geniuses. Lu Ming had killed 2 and Luo Xiang had killed 1. Damn it! Lu Ming deserves to die. Someone from the Celestial Divinity sect shouted angrily. There weren't many geniuses with medium earth spiritual bodies in the Celestial Divinity sect. Now that Lu Ming had killed several of them, it was a great loss. Lu Ming put away his spoils and returned to the platform. Next, it was the Sky Demon sect's turn. I'll go. Someone from the Sky Demon sect stepped forward. It's him, Mo He. Mo He is going to fight personally. Who will he challenge? Many people were shocked. Mo He was a top genius in the Sky Demon sect. He had a high earth spiritual body and was at the peak of level 6 martial royal realm. He had a high chance of becoming one of the top 10 geniuses in the Tsang Prefecture. The top 10 geniuses of the Tsang Prefecture all had high earth spiritual bodies. In theory, anyone who cultivated a high earth spiritual body would have a chance of becoming one of the top 10 geniuses. Of course, it was just a chance. Even if one had a high earth spiritual body and had the same cultivation, there would be differences in combat strength. For example, the strength of one's domain martial technique, one's combat strength, and various secret techniques would determine one's combat strength. Mo He's gaze landed on the 5 people from the Divine Dragon Valley. His gaze swept across them before finally landing on Ziyu. I knew he would challenge me, Ziyu said with a smile. Ziyu, if you can't beat him, get off the platform and save your life, Han Sun warned. Although Ziyu's combat strength was strong, he didn't have a high earth spiritual body and was no match for Mo He. I know. Don't worry. Ziyu stepped onto the platform. Without further ado, the battle began. Ziyu was a genius from Purple Dragon Valley. He cultivated the Purple Dragon Battle Body, which was a medium earth spiritual body. His domain had reached the peak of level 7, and his domain martial technique had reached the peak. His combat strength was astonishing. Although Ziyu's spiritual body was inferior to Mo He's spiritual body, the difference in their combat strength was not too great. It was impossible for Mo He to kill Ziyu in a short period of time. The two exchanged close to 100 moves before Ziyu lost and was blasted off the battle stage. Ziyu had failed. There were only 4 people left in the Dragon God Valley. The challenges continued, and soon it was the Desire Poison sect's turn. The leader of the Desire Poison sect looked at the 4 from the Dragon God Valley and hesitated. None of the remaining 4 from Dragon God Valley were simple. If they wanted to send someone to fight, they could only send someone with an earthly spiritual body, a peak 6th layer Martial Emperor Realm cultivator. Moreover, they wouldn't be able to kill Lu Ming and the others. Even if they could defeat one of Lu Ming's group, they would be injured, which would be disadvantageous for them in the following battles. In the end, the Desire Poison sect sent out a weakling. For the first time, they didn't challenge the Dragon God Valley, but another sect. The Heavenly God sect's leader's face darkened. However, he knew that the Heavenly God sect, the Sky Universe Demon sect, and the Desire Poison sect had teamed up to deal with the Dragon God Valley. However, the 3 sects all wanted the final victory. If they sent out their best geniuses now, both sides would be injured and it would be disadvantageous for them in the following battles. After the Desire Poison sect, the 9 Heaven Sword sect sent someone to fight. Soon, it was the Dragon God Valley's turn. A cold killing intent flashed in Han Sun's eyes as he said, "Now, let's start the counterattack. Tian Chui, you go." "Good. Haha, it's finally my turn." Tian Chui laughed. He was about to explode from holding back. Now it was finally his turn. Boom! Tian Chui landed on the battle stage, and his eyes fell on a young man from the Heavenly God sect. He shouted, "You, come down and die." "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The young man from the Heavenly God sect jumped onto the battle stage and attacked Tian Chui. "Go to hell!" Tian Chui roared. He was like a mad dragon as he swung his giant hammer at his opponent, ignoring his opponent's attack and defense. Boom! The young man from the Heavenly God sect screamed in pain as he was smashed into a pile of meat by Tian Chui's hammer. "Die, die!" Skyhammer roared. His huge hammer danced in the air, causing the void to rumble. His eyes were filled with malevolent killing intent. Good kill. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley cheered happily. Han Sun and Lu Ming revealed a cold smile on their faces. The Dragon God Valley's counterattack was finally going to start. This was Lu Ming's plan. First, protect the people, then counterattack. This was to preserve the lives of the Dragon God Valley's disciples and leave the strongest one alive. At the beginning, many people were killed. They had no choice but to do so. If they didn't do so, the weaker disciples would all die. Saving the counterattack for the last was the only way to preserve the lives of the Dragon God Valley's disciples. The disciples of the Heavenly God sect gritted their teeth in anger. The people from the other sects were deep in thought. They seemed to have thought of something. Skyhammer returned to the platform. After that, another 3 matches were held. This round ended, and the 10th round began. It was the Heavenly God sect's turn to challenge again. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on the Heavenly God sect. How would the Heavenly God sect fight? Would they continue to challenge the Dragon God Valley? Who would they send? At this moment, the leader of the Heavenly God sect looked gloomy and hesitant. He was in a difficult situation. The remaining 4 from the Dragon God Valley had terrifying combat strength. If he were to send someone to challenge them, he would definitely send the strongest Sky Prides. Sending the others would only be sending them to their deaths. Moreover, it wouldn't be easy to defeat Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and the others. Even if they could win, they would definitely be injured and their combat strength would be greatly reduced. If the Heavenly God sect's strongest cultivators were injured, the other sect's strongest cultivators would definitely not let go of this opportunity. They would challenge the Heavenly God sect's strongest cultivators. In this way, the Heavenly God sect's strongest cultivators would probably be eliminated. Without their strongest cultivators, the Heavenly God sect might not even be able to enter the top 10. The Heavenly God sect was now in a passive position. The Sky Prides of the other sects had obviously thought of this and were looking forward to it. How could this be? The leader of the Heavenly God sect clenched his fists tightly. Similarly, the leaders of the Sky Universe Demon sect and Desire Poison sect felt the same. Hey, are you guys going to challenge them or not? Don't dawdle and waste other people's time. Lu Ming said calmly, as if he was waiting for the Heavenly God Sect's challenge. Lu Ming, many disciples of the Heavenly God Sect gritted their teeth and glared at Lu Ming. However, they definitely wouldn't dare to challenge Lu Ming. They would only be courting death. Brother Wu, Brother Demon. At this moment, the leader of the Heavenly God Sect sent a message to the leaders of the Sky Universe, Demon Sect, and Desire Poison Sect. How about this? Let's put the Dragon God Valley aside and eliminate the weakest sects first. Then, we'll gather our strength to deal with the Dragon God Valley. What do you think? All right, I agree. Chapter 1534. The leaders of the Heavenly Divinity Sect, Empyrean Demon Sect, and Desire Poison Sect discussed and decided to eliminate the weakest sects before joining forces to deal with Lu Ming and the others from the Divine Dragon Valley. They had no choice but to do so. If they went all out to deal with Lu Ming and the rest, the other sects would most likely take advantage of them. In that case, they might not even be able to enter the top 10 and participate in this year's treasure exhibition. They could not accept that no matter what. If they eliminated the weakest sects, they would at least be able to enter the top 10 and participate in the treasure sorting meeting. They would then deal with Lu Ming and the others after they entered the top 10. That was their plan. Sure enough, the Heavenly Divinity Sect sent out LV5 Marshal Royal to challenge LV4 Marshal Royal from the Piyuan family. The Piyuan family was one of the weakest forces. It seems like the Heavenly Divinity Sect is afraid. Why don't you dare to challenge my junior brothers from the Divine Dragon Valley? A LV7 Marshal Royal from the Divine Dragon Valley said as he looked at the Heavenly Divinity Sect with disdain. They had been mocked by the Heavenly Divinity Sect, saying that they would definitely not be able to participate in the treasure sorting meeting. Now they could finally fight back. What's the rush? That's right. The best part is yet to come. The Heavenly Divinity Sect's LV7 Marshal Royal and above snorted. Han Sun, that's a good plan. An old voice came from a pavilion. It was the Saint Realm Elder of the Divine Dragon Valley. Elder, this plan was proposed by junior brother Lu Ming. Han soon bowed to the pavilion and said, Not bad. Continue to work hard. Make those sects pay a price. Otherwise, do you think that the Divine Dragon Valley is easy to bully? The Saint Realm Elder of the Divine Dragon Valley continued. Don't worry, Elder. I guarantee that you'll be satisfied, Lu Ming said with a smile. At that moment, the battle had already begun. The Heavenly Divinity Sect's genius defeated the Piyuan family's genius easily. Then, it was the Heavenly Divinity Sect's turn. They also sent out an expert to challenge the Piyuan family and defeated them easily. When it was the Desire Poison Sect's turn, they would also challenge the Piyuan family. Everyone understood that the three great sects of the Heavenly God Sect were going to join hands to eliminate the weaker sections. The Piyuan family was helpless. They couldn't even resist. This time, the Piyuan clan didn't have anyone with a spiritual body who had reached the top of the 6th Huang Qi layer. They only had one spiritual body, so the cultivators of the 4th Huang Qi layer couldn't fight back. Soon, it was Dragon God Valley's turn. This time, Xuanixin had challenged the Heavenly God Sect to a duel and had killed a 6th layer martial dominator realm genius of the Heavenly God Sect, causing the crowd of the Heavenly God Sect to wear unpleasant expressions. Previously, they had hunted down the disciples of the Dragon God Valley. They were so arrogant that the Dragon God Valley could hardly retaliate. But now, the people of Dragon God Valley were hunting them down, and they couldn't fight back. They were so depressed that they wanted to die. In the 11th round, the Heavenly God Sect, Sky Universe Demon Sect, and Desire Poison Sect continued to challenge the Piyuan family. When it was Dragon God Valley's turn, it was finally Han Sun's turn. Han Sun also challenged a 6th layer martial dominator realm genius of the Heavenly God Sect. Han Sun had a spiritual body, and his cultivation was at the peak of the 6th Huang Qi layer. He was extremely powerful, and his opponent couldn't even rush down the fighting stage. He was easily killed by Han Sun. The Heavenly God Sect could only endure. They had to endure until 3 other sects were eliminated, and then they would fight back. In the 12th round, the 3 great sects of the Heavenly God sect continued to challenge the Piyuan clan. Because there were other sects challenging the Piyuan clan, the Piyuan clan only had a few people left. They were doomed to be eliminated. This round, it was finally Lu Ming's turn. Whoosh! Lu Ming stepped forward and appeared on the fighting stage. He looked at the Heavenly God sect. The crowd wasn't surprised at all. Dragon God Valley had come to take revenge by killing the people of the Heavenly God sect. When Lu Ming looked at the remaining geniuses of the Heavenly God sect, their faces changed drastically. A few of the 6th layer martial dominators turned pale. In the end, Lu Ming's eyes fell on a white-haired young man. "You, come down and die." Lu Ming said coldly. "What?" "Lu Ming is going to challenge by MO." The crowd was shocked. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. Indeed, I didn't expect that Lu Ming would challenge by MO now. In recent years, there have been many geniuses in the Celestial sect. There are many powerful people. It is said that there are 3 superior-grade Earth spirit bodies who are attending the treasure sorting meeting. Bai Mo is one of them. That's right. Bai Mo is one of the top experts in the treasure sorting meeting. Many people spoke excitedly. The battle between the top experts was about to begin. Junior brother Lu Ming. Han Sun's eyes lit up. Lu Ming's action was out of his expectation. He thought that Lu Ming would challenge an ordinary 6th layer martial dominator. "You want to challenge me?" Bai Mo said coldly as killing intent surged from his body. "That's right," Lu Ming said. "Well, I wanted to kill you later. Since you're in a hurry to die, I'll send you on your way first," Bai Mo said coldly. His body moved and he appeared in the fighting ring, facing Lu Ming. "Is that so? The Heavenly God sect will be heartbroken if I kill you." Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. "White energy cut." At this moment, Bai Mo moved. A snow-white sword gleam slashed toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Before the sword arrived, the sharp intent pierced the air and produced a whistling sound. Not everyone in the Heavenly God sect practiced the divine skill. Many of them practiced other skills. Buzz! A sovereign spiritual weapon appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He shook the long spear, and it turned into a spear radiance that pierced through the air. The spear radiance and the sword radiance collided, and a dense force spread out in all directions. Lu Ming and Bai Mo were already engaged in a fierce battle. Bai Mo's realm was very special. It was a vast expanse of white, and every ray of white radiance was a ray of sword chi. Coupled with Bai Mo's realm martial technique, its power was terrifying. The dense sword radiance pierced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the 13 strikes. His long spear was like a dragon, sweeping across the void. Each strike contained 13 rays of attack power. The endless sword radiance was destroyed by the long spear and dissipated in the air. The 2 figures intertwined on the fighting ring and collided with each other from time to time. In the blink of an eye, the 2 had exchanged more than 50 blows. Divine Gate Seal. In the process of the battle, Lu Ming used the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. Suddenly, 6 sealed doors appeared and emitted rays of light to seal Bai Mo. Bai Mo's pupils contracted and he shouted, "God Bai, Sword Shadow!" Bai Mo's body emitted a white light like a sword. In a flash, he rushed out of the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. What a wonderful spiritual body! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 1535. He could not help but admit that the upper earthly spiritual body was extremely talented and powerful. Bai Mo's strength was absolutely shocking. With his cultivation of the peak 6th layer martial dominator realm, he could easily kill an 8th layer martial dominator realm expert. Divine white sword formation. Bai Mo uttered a roar as he charged out from the 9 seals of the God Gate. His eyes turned completely white as strange runes appeared in them. Buzz! In the sky, densely packed patterns suddenly appeared, like a huge white array formation. Following this, the same runes appeared under Lu Ming's feet, which looked like a giant formation. They surrounded Lu Ming from above and below. This is not a formation, but a secret technique of the spiritual body. Lu Ming was startled. Some powerful spiritual bodies were able to produce secret techniques of the spiritual body. In other words, they were brought along by the bloodline. For example, Lu Ming's devouring force was brought along by the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Even after refining the divine dragon flesh, it still retained the devouring force. Other bloodlines might also retain some powerful secret techniques after transforming into the spiritual body. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless sword intents were emitted from the 2 runes and fired toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming had no way to retreat in all directions. Wind element technique. Lu Ming's heart shuddered as a blue force from the air-frozen bead entered Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming executed the wind element technique, causing his figure to turn into a breeze and float in the air. Lu Ming's figure swayed, leaving behind a string of afterimages. He flashed among the infinite sword auras, avoiding the sword auras. However, there were too many sword intents. In such a narrow space, Lu Ming could not dodge them all regardless of how fast his movement was. Whoosh! A sharp sword intent pierced toward Lu Ming's chest. Lu Ming's body was covered with the primal chaos domain, resisting the sword chi. Sizzling sounds could be heard as the sword chi pierced through the primal chaos domain and stabbed into Lu Ming's chest. It wasn't that the chaotic domain wasn't strong. First, the sword chi was too terrifying. Second, Lu Ming's chaotic domain was too weak. It was only level 4. At least for Bai Mo, his level was too low, so he couldn't defend against it. If it was a level 5 chaotic domain, the sword chi would not have been able to break through its defenses. However, the primal chaos domain had greatly weakened the power of the sword chi. Roar! At that instant, a dragon's roar could be heard from Lu Ming's body as a layer of dragon scales appeared on his body. Clang! The sword chi struck the dragon scales, causing sparks to fly. The sword chi collapsed, and the dragon scales on Lu Ming's chest were slightly damaged, revealing a trace of blood. What terrifying sword chi! Lu Ming's heart stirred. Even an 8th-layer martial dominator realm cultivator would be slain by the sword intent from the 2 patterns. Whoosh! Whoosh! More energy poured into the air-frozen pearl. Lu Ming activated the wind origin skill to the maximum and his speed increased. Lu Ming's figure was everywhere in the sky. However, Lu Ming couldn't rush out of the 2 patterns because the 2 patterns had covered the entire fighting ring. If he rushed out of the pattern, it would mean that he had rushed out of the fighting ring. In that case, Lu Ming would lose this round. If it had been any other place, Lu Ming would have rushed out long ago. Haha, Lu Ming is doomed to die under Senior Brother by Mo's White God Sword Array. That's right. Senior Brother by Mo's eye technique has killed many high-level martial dominators. Once one is trapped in it, one will die unless one's cultivation is much higher than his. Humph. Lu Ming actually took the initiative to challenge Senior Brother by Mo. He's courting death. Seeing that Lu Ming was in danger, the disciples of the Celestial Sect were in a good mood. They couldn't help but mock and ridicule him. On the other hand, Tian Shui and Xuaningxin were worried. In the fighting ring, Bai Mo's eyes had turned pure white. There were lines on his pupils that were exactly the same as the 2 patterns. Bai Mo stepped on the void and landed on the pattern above. His territory seemed to have merged with the pattern. Suddenly, the pattern became even more terrifying. The sword chi whistled, and its speed increased greatly. Lu Ming, today is the day you die, Bai Mo said coldly. It's too early for you to be happy, Lu Ming said indifferently. At the same time, Lu Ming continued to form seals with his hands. 9 seals of the Holy Gate. A deep voice could be heard as 6 sealed doors appeared. However, this time the sealed doors were not facing Bai Mo, but Lu Ming himself. The 6 sealed doors floated around Lu Ming and shone brightly. The sword chi that was aimed at Lu Ming was suppressed by the power of the sealed doors and stopped in the air. 9 dragons, stomping the sky. Following that, Lu Ming took 9 consecutive steps. The power of the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps erupted, dispersing the sword aura below him. With the help of this force, Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky. Unknowingly, the Emperor's spiritual weapon long spear appeared in his hands again. He merged with the holy spiritual weapon and unleashed the 13 strikes. He shot up into the sky and attacked by Mo swoosh. Swoosh. In the process of shooting up into the sky, 2 black holy swords appeared in Lu Ming's eyes. Holy sword skill. Holy sword skill was a spiritual attack. It broke through Bai Mo's pattern and rushed into Bai Mo's body. At that moment, Bai Mo screamed in pain. It was as if his soul was being torn apart. As a martial emperor's cultivation increased, his spiritual spirit would become stronger and stronger. At the same time, his soul would become stronger as well. The higher the cultivation level, the stronger the spiritual strength. Lu Ming's soul had been refined by the alchemy Calamity Bell. His spiritual strength was dozens of times stronger than a martial artist of the same level. During this period of time, he had been cultivating the holy sword skill, and his spiritual strength had become stronger. If Lu Ming was facing a martial artist of the same level, Lu Ming would be able to destroy his soul with the holy sword skill. Even a genius like Bai Mo, whose cultivation level was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's, felt as if his soul was about to be torn apart. At that moment, the 2 patterns under Bai Mo's feet dimmed. Bam! Lu Ming broke through the patterns and pierced Bai Mo's body with his sharp spear. Bai Mo screamed in agony. Then, under Lu Ming's destructive power, his body and soul were destroyed. Bai Mo was dead. At that moment, there was a sudden silence around the fighting ring. Almost everyone opened their eyes wide and looked at the fighting ring in shock. Just a moment ago, Lu Ming had been completely suppressed and his life was in danger. However, in the next moment, the situation had been reversed. Lu Ming had killed Bai Mo with 1 blow. The change had happened so quickly that no one could react. Bai Mo had been killed, and the patterns on the fighting ring had disappeared. Bai Mo's body fell heavily on the fighting ring, and it had awakened everyone. There was an uproar at the scene. Senior brother Bai Mo. Junior brother Bai Mo. Lu Ming, you deserve to die. Angry shouts could be heard from the divine sect's side. Bai Mo had a superior earth spiritual body. There were not many geniuses like him in the divine sect. Every one of them had the potential to become one of the top 10 geniuses in the Tsang state. In the future, they would have a great chance to become a martial sage. They might even have a chance to become a supreme sage. To a sect, each of these geniuses was an immeasurable amount of wealth. Chapter 1536. On the other hand, the disciples of the Dragon God Valley were very excited. Good job! Isn't the heavenly god sect arrogant? That's the way to kill them. Lu Ming is invincible. Many people shouted, Qiu Ying, Qiu Hao, and the others who were close to Lu Ming were so excited that their faces turned red. Previously, many disciples of the Dragon God Valley had been killed. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley had nowhere to vent their anger and frustration. Now, they had vented all their anger. A genius with a superior earth spiritual body was more valuable than all the disciples of the Dragon God Valley combined. The Heavenly God sect had only sent 3 such geniuses to participate in the small meeting. Now one of them had died. It was a great loss. Trash, Lu Ming said coldly in the fighting ring. He took Bai Mo's storage ring with his hand. Lu Ming, I'll kill you. You're dead. Some geniuses of the 7th layer martial royal realm and above shouted angrily in the stands. What? Disciples below the 7th layer can't do it. Do you want to fight? The disciples of the seventh layer martial royal realm and above said coldly in the stands. The disciples of the heavenly god sect looked even more upset. Lu Ming's strength has reached this level? Ziwuji said in the heavenly god sect's stands. He clenched his fists tightly. Beside him sat Eden and Ji Hongqin. They were all from the continent of godly ruins. A few years ago, they had competed with Lu Ming. Now, Lu Ming had completely surpassed them. The strongest among them was Eden. However, he was only a second-layer martial emperor at the moment. Ziwuji and Ji Hongqin were still stuck at the peak of the first-layer martial royal realm. Eden and Ji Hongqin had a complicated look on their faces. Ziwuji, Ji Hongqin, after this meeting, I plan to leave the heavenly god sect and train myself. What about you two? Eden sent a message to Ziwuji and Ji Hongqin. The three of them were not on good terms in the continent of godly ruins. They were even competitors. However, after coming to the Yuan continent, the three of them became closer. After all, they came from the same place. You want to leave the heavenly god sect? With your current cultivation, it's very dangerous for you to leave the sect and venture outside. Ziwuji's face changed. Only danger is worth tempering. If I die on the road of tempering myself, I can only blame myself for not being skilled enough. But if we stay in the heavenly divine sect, outsiders like us won't be able to receive good training. We'll be no different from odd job workers. We'll never be able to catch up to Lu Ming. Eden seemed to have made up her mind. I'll go with you. Ji Hongqin pondered for a moment before he spoke. Ziwuji's complexion changed for a while before he grit his teeth and said, I will continue to stay in the heavenly god sect. All right, Eden nodded. Everyone had their own ambitions, and he would not force them. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming put away the storage ring and returned to platform number 10 in a flash. Lu Ming, well done, haha. Tian Chui laughed loudly. Xuaningxin and Han Sun also smiled. The disciples of the celestial god sect flew down to the fighting stage and took Bai Mo's body away. The competition continued. Soon, this round ended and a new round began. It was the heavenly god sect's turn to challenge again. The leader of the heavenly god sect glanced coldly at Lu Ming and the others. But in the end, he still sent people to challenge the Piyuan family. They could only endure for now. Now that they had lost a top expert, their strength was greatly reduced. They did not dare to fight with the Dragon God Valley, now as they were afraid that they would not be able to enter the top 10. After the Heavenly God sect, the Heavenly Universe Demon sect, and the Desire Poison sect followed in the footsteps of the Heavenly God sect to challenge the Piyuan family. When it was the Dragon God Valley's turn, Tian Chui challenged and killed a 6th rank expert. Just like that, a few rounds passed. The first sect to be eliminated was finally born. The Piyuan family was eliminated by the Heavenly God sect, the Heavenly Universe Demon sect, and the Desire Poison sect. Now, there were only 12 sects left. The competition continued. When it was Lu Ming's turn to challenge, he did not challenge the top expert of the other side this time. Instead, he chose a weaker opponent. The competition went on one round after another. The atmosphere became more and more oppressive. The faces of the Heavenly God sect became more and more unpleasant. Every round, the Dragon God Valley would kill one of their sky prides. Those who were selected to participate in the small gathering were the top sky prides. The loss of each of them would cause the Heavenly God sect heartache. But now they were being killed one after another. When the 19th round ended, the Heavenly God sect only had 16 people left. The losses were beyond imagination. The Dragon God Valley still had 4 people left. At this time, another 2 weaker sects were eliminated. Finally, there were only 10 sects left. These 10 sects were equivalent to obtaining the right to participate in the treasure meeting. When the 20th round began, it was the Heavenly God sect's turn to challenge again. Brother Wu, Brother Amo, it's time to eliminate the Dragon God Valley. The leader of the Heavenly God sect said coldly. His voice was filled with endless coldness. Great, that's what I want. The heavenly universe demon Sex M.O. His eyes were especially cold. I've been waiting for this moment. The desire poisoned Sex, Wu Qiandao's eyes were even colder. Poisonous insects crawled out of his body and swam around him. Brother Wang, why don't we work together to eliminate the Dragon God Valley? The leader of the Heavenly God sect looked at the leader of the Nine Heaven Sword sect. The Nine Heaven Sword sect had a good relationship with the Heavenly God sect. On the contrary, they didn't have a good relationship with the Dragon God Valley. He wanted the Nine Heaven Sword sect to deal with Lu Ming and the others. The eyes of the Nine Heaven Sword sect's leader flickered as he looked in the direction of the Dragon God Valley. He said with a hint of fear, I won't get involved in your business. He didn't want to get involved in the conflict between the Heavenly God sect, Heavenly Universe Demon sect, Desire Poison sect, and the Dragon God Valley. Moreover, the Dragon God Valley wasn't easy to deal with. Humph! The leader of the Heavenly God sect's face darkened when he heard the Nine Heaven Sword sect's rejection. Hey, are you guys going to challenge us or not? Stop wasting time. Tian Chue carried his hammer and looked at the Heavenly God sect's direction. Since you guys are in a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Luaning, you're up. The leader of the Heavenly God sect said to a black-robed figure. I've been waiting for this moment. The black-robed figure said coldly, causing the hearts of many Heavenly God sect's disciples to tremble. They were well aware of how terrifying the black-robed Chaos Shadows was. Whoosh! A shadow flashed, and Luaning appeared on the fighting stage. Many of the weaker ones didn't even see how he appeared on the fighting stage. You come down. A pair of cold eyes stared at Tian Chue from within the black robe and said coldly, Haha, it's finally my turn. Tian Chue laughed. Tian Chue, you have to be careful. This person is one of the 3 superior earthly spiritual bodies of the Heavenly God sect. He specializes in assassination techniques. Han Sun warned with a serious expression. Don't worry. No matter what he's good at, I'll crush him with my hammer. Chapter 1537. Boom! Tian Chue, carrying a huge hammer the size of a water tank, rushed towards the battle stage like an iron tower and landed on the battle stage, causing the entire stage to rumble. Shorty, let Grandpa Skyhammer's hammer take care of you. Skyhammer brandished his water tank-like hammer, revealing a malevolent killing intent. Die. At this moment, Wanning moved. His body was like a shadow as he suddenly appeared in front of Skyhammer. A thin and long sword stabbed toward Skyhammer's heart. Fast, accurate, and ruthless. He was like a trained assassin. Boom! Skyhammer stomped on the ground and quickly retreated. Then he used his huge hammer to block in front of him. Clang! Luan Ying's sword hit Skyhammer's hammer and bounced back. Luan Ying used the force of the rebound to appear above Skyhammer's head. A terrifying sword light stabbed towards Skyhammer's head. Scram! Skyhammer roared and smashed his hammer towards Luan Ying's head. The hammer smashed down, creating a terrifying gust of wind that caused the sky to rumble. Clang! The hammer hit Luan Ying's sword. However, Luan Ying's body seemed to be weightless. He could appear wherever he wanted. Shwa! In the next moment, Luan Ying's body appeared behind Skyhammer and stabbed out with his sword. Skyhammer used his huge hammer to block Luan Ying's attack. However, Luan Ying's movement technique was too fast. He constantly moved around Skyhammer's body. His sword was like a poisonous snake, aiming for Skyhammer's vital points every time. Shadow Domain! On the stage, Lu Ming's eyebrows slightly furrowed. Luan Ying had comprehended the Shadow Domain. He moved like a shadow and cultivated the assassination Sword Dao. His perfect combination made him shockingly powerful. He could usually kill cultivators stronger than him in one hit. It was obvious that the opponent had arranged for Luan Ying to challenge Skyhammer. Luan Ying could counter Skyhammer and prevent him from using his brute force. Scram, scram, scram! Sky Hammer became more and more furious. He kept smashing his huge hammer, creating a terrifying gust of wind that swept in all directions. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sword light stabbed out from under Sky Hammer's feet. This sword came without any warning, and it was inconceivably fast. This sword was actually thrust out from the Heavenly Hammer's own shadow. This exceeded everyone's expectations. Not good. Han Sun and Xuan Ningxin exclaimed in shock. Roar! Tian Chue seemed to have also sensed the terrifying danger. With a roar, the muscles on his body squirmed and a layer of dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. At the same time, Tian Chue retreated rapidly to avoid the sword. Puff! The sword light continued to sweep across Tian Chue's leg. The dragon scales were cut open, revealing a deep wound. If Tian Chue had not reacted in time, one of his legs would have been chopped off. Whoosh! However, at this moment, under Tian Chue's feet, another sword light pierced towards Tian Chue from his own shadow. What a strange attack! Kill! Sky Hammer roared as the massive hammer in his hand smashed down heavily on his own shadow. Boom! The giant hammer directly smashed the sword light and smashed heavily on the shadow of the battle platform. The entire fighting ring shook violently. Not far away, Luan Ying's body trembled, and he took a few steps back. It seemed that Sky Hammer's attack had hurt him. Whoosh! Next, Luan Ying's body flashed and disappeared. At this time, 8 more shadows appeared around the hammer. Every time the shadows appeared, a sword light would shoot out towards the hammer. Tian Chue used his massive hammer to block the enemy's attack. However, the attacks from all directions were too fast for Tian Chue to block all of them. Puff! Puff! After a while, a few wounds appeared on Tian Chue's body. They were so deep that his bones could be seen. Ha ha! Senior brother Luaning is going to win. A disciple from the Celestial God sect sneered. On the other hand, everyone from Dragon God Valley was watching carefully with a dark face. Barbaric Dragon Strike. Suddenly, Tian Chue roared. He grabbed the handle of his massive hammer with both hands and swung it. His entire body spun rapidly. The handle of Tian Chue's hammer was extremely long. When he swung it, it was like a hurricane sweeping in all directions. Bam! 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 The 8 shadows could not dodge at all. When they were swept by the hammer, they all collapsed. The 8 shadows collapsed and reformed into a single shadow. It was Luan Ying's shadow. At this moment, the black robe on Luan Ying's head was destroyed, revealing a dark and gloomy face. A trace of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he was also injured by Tian Chue's attack. Shadow Sword, kill! A low voice came from Luan Ying's mouth. His body slowly became blurry and turned into a shadow. In the end, the shadow also disappeared. Luan Ying seemed to have completely disappeared from the fighting stage. Even his aura could not be sensed. A shadow-type spiritual body. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Whoosh! At this moment, a sword light pierced towards Tian Chue from the top of his head. Tian Chue swung his hammer upwards. However, at the same time, a sword light pierced towards Tian Chue's feet, left and right. Tian Chue roared angrily and quickly retreated to avoid the sword light. However, a sword light still left a sword wound on Tian Chue's body. Around the heavenly hammer, sword light constantly appeared, soundless and without any signs. Barbaric Dragon Strike. Tian Chue roared and used the same move again. He swung his giant hammer and spun it wildly. However, this time, the sword light did not disperse. Instead, it pierced through Tian Chue's attack and continued to stab towards him. Puff! Puff! A few more wounds appeared on Tian Chue's body. What's going on? Why can't we attack him? Some disciples of the Dragon God Valley asked anxiously. Tian Chue's attack was too strange. Tian Chue's attack could not hit him. It's not that he can't hit him. It's just that he can turn into a shadow, which can greatly reduce the damage done to him. Tian Chui's attack was weakened when it landed on his body. At the same time, he's too fast. Most of the attacks were dodged by him. A genius of the rank 9 Martial King realm explained on the spectator stand. Roar! Tian Chui let out a dragon roar. He took a step forward and rushed to the side of the fighting stage. It seemed that he was going to rush down the fighting stage. If you want to rush to the fighting stage, stay here. Luan Ying's cold voice came from the sky. Tian Chui pretended not to hear it and continued to rush forward. Whoosh! A terrifying sword light pierced towards Tian Chui from behind. Tian Chui, who was rushing forward, suddenly stopped and turned around. Puchi! The sword light pierced through Tian Chui's chest. Blood splattered everywhere. Die! A cold voice sounded. Luan Ying's figure appeared in front of Tian Chui. Roar! At this moment, Tian Chui let out a dragon roar. A giant barbaric dragon shadow appeared on his body. The barbaric dragon shadow clawed at Luan Ying. Oh no! Chapter 1538. Bam! The barbaric dragon clawed at Luan Ying's body. Luan Ying groaned as he was sent flying, spitting out blood. Kill! Tian Chui roared as he hurled the huge hammer in his hand. Like a meteor, it smashed into Luan Ying, who was in the air. Luan Ying screamed as his body was sent flying. The giant hammer carried Luan Ying out of the stage and landed heavily on the ground. Luan Ying spat out blood, his face as pale as paper. Luan Ying lost because Tian Chui was still on the stage. Whoosh! The giant hammer flew back to the stage and landed in Tian Chui's hand. Puff! Tian Chui's body shook as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he had defeated Luan Ying, he was heavily injured as well. Senior brother Tian Chui, come up and treat your injuries. Lu Ming shouted. Tian Chui channeled his true yuan and rushed up to the stage. He sat down cross-legged and started to treat his injuries. Just now, he had been injured by Luan Ying's sword multiple times. In the end, the sword had pierced through his heart. The terrifying destruction sword Qi was constantly destroying Tian Chui's spiritual body. Tian Chui had to destroy the destruction sword Qi first before he could heal. Damn it! The leader of the Heavenly God sect shouted angrily on the stage. Originally, he thought that with Luan Ying's strength and the fact that he could counter Tian Chui, he would be able to defeat Tian Chui. Although he might not be able to kill Tian Chui, defeating him shouldn't be a problem. He didn't think that Tian Chui would defeat Luan Ying in a way where both sides were injured. His plan was foiled. As a result, 2 of the 3 top experts of the Heavenly God sect had been defeated. Only the leader was left. This made the faces of the Heavenly God sect very ugly. The Heavenly Divinity sect had already announced that they would also take first place in the Treasure Ding Ding Party and achieve 3 consecutive championships. But now, there was only 1 top expert left, the leader. The other 6th level experts had almost all been killed, so there was no chance for them to take first place. This was all because of the Dragon God Valley. They wanted to deal with the Dragon God Valley, but in the end, they got themselves into trouble. Before the competition started, the Heavenly God sect probably didn't expect this. I'll leave the rest to you guys. The leader of the Heavenly God sect looked at the Sky Demon sect. Whoosh! A figure rushed out from the Sky Universe Demon sect, carrying a demon saber on his back. It's Mo Xian. Someone recognized this person. There were 2 geniuses from the Sky Universe Demon sect who had reached the peak of the 6th layer martial royal realm with a superior earth spiritual body. One of them was Mo, and the other was Ma Xian. Mo Xian looked at Xuanixin and said, I challenge you. Many people were shocked. Indeed, the Celestial sect, the Empyrean Demon sect, and the Poison sect had sent out their strongest forces to deal with the Dragon God Valley. Xuanixin stepped onto the fighting ring. Kill! The demonic saber was unsheathed, and demonic energy soared to the sky. Roar! Xuan revealed her true form and turned into a snow dragon. The two sides clashed fiercely. This battle was different from the one between Skyhammer and Luaning. This battle was a head-on clash, and it was exceptionally fierce. Xuan was a pure-blooded true dragon, and she was considered a genius even among true dragons. Her dragon body was as strong as a superior earth spiritual body, and she was evenly matched with Mo Xian. The two sides exchanged more than 200 blows, and in the end, Xuan won by a little and knocked Mo Xian off the fighting ring. However, Xuan was severely injured, and her injuries were even worse than Skyhammer's. Xuan dragged her injured body back to the fighting ring and began to heal. The Dragon God Valley had won another battle, defeating a top expert from the Sky Universe Demon Sect. Could it be that the Dragon God Valley was going to be the last one? Some people had such thoughts. The challenges continued, and soon it was the Poison Sect's turn. Whoosh! Wu Qiandu of the Poison Sect stood up and stepped onto the fighting ring. The Poison Sect also had two top experts. Wu Qiandu was the leader of the Poison Sect, and he was going to fight personally this time. Wu Qiandu's gaze shifted between Han Sun and Lu Ming. According to the rules, Skyhammer and Xuan had just fought, so they couldn't challenge them now. Only by challenging Lu Ming and Han Sun could they challenge Skyhammer and Xuan. In the end, Wu Qiandu's gaze landed on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you managed to escape with your sacred weapon the last time. Now come down and accept your death. Wu Qiandu said coldly. Last time, Lu Ming had used his black wings to create a gust of wind that rendered his poison gas useless. Now that he couldn't use his sacred weapon, he wanted to see how Lu Ming would defend against his poison gas. Another one who wants to die. Lu Ming smiled indifferently. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Whoa! As soon as Lu Ming's feet landed, Wu Qiandu took action. Densely packed poisonous insects swarmed toward Lu Ming, covering the sky and the sun like a mass of dark clouds. Whoa! Lu Ming's chaotic domain spread out and shrouded the endless poisonous insects. Fire! Lu Ming whispered, and the chaotic domain turned into a flame domain. The flames engulfed the insects, and sizzling sounds could be heard as the insects were burned to ashes. But at this time, Wu Qiandu waved his hand, and toads appeared. Each toad was covered in pustules and emitted a foul smell. They pounced toward Lu Ming. In the air, the toads spat out poisonous water that enveloped Lu Ming. When the poisonous water landed on the chaotic domain, it actually emitted a sizzling sound of corrosion. Kill! At the same time, Wu Qiandu charged toward Lu Ming. A soft whip appeared in his hand. The whip was covered with poisonous thorns, and it swept toward Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming used the hell-suppressing heaven skill and punched out continuously, bombarding the toads and soft whips. However, when Lu Ming's fist force bombarded those toads, they actually self-exploded and turned into a pool of thick water that gushed toward Lu Ming, emitting a disgusting stench. Once he smelled the stench, Lu Ming felt slightly dizzy. Circulating his true yuan, he regained consciousness. What a terrifying poison! Lu Ming thought. Shua! Shua! Poisonous insects kept gushing out of Wu Qiandu's body. Next, there were toads and poisonous snakes that attacked Lu Ming. As for himself, he controlled the soft whip and was extremely agile as he whipped Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly shouted and used the divine sword art. Two black sword lights burst out from Lu Ming's eyes and rushed toward Wu Qiandu. But at this time, a layer of poisonous insects appeared on the surface of Wu Qiandu's body, forming a shield. The divine sword art attacked the poisonous insects and killed a large number of them, but Wu Qiandu was unharmed. Soul attacks can ignore ordinary defenses and attack the soul. However, these insects of mine have spirits. With spirits, your soul attacks won't be able to penetrate them. Last time you used it once. This time I'm prepared. Hee hee. Wu Qindu sneered. It seems that soul attacks are not omnipotent. There are still weaknesses. Chapter 1539. Soul attacks were something that ordinary defenses would not be able to defend against, and they would be able to pierce right through. When facing the evil spirit sex Elder Emo Hun, Lu Ming's primal chaos domain and bubble space-time domain could only weaken a portion of the attack. One could imagine that normal defenses would be useless. However, soul attacks also had their weaknesses. If a living being stood in front of them, the soul attack would not be able to pass through. For example, Wu Qindu had used poisonous insects to block in front of him. Although the poisonous insects were small, they were still sentient and had souls. Soul attacks would attack the poisonous insects, and Wu Qindu, who was behind the poisonous insects, was naturally unharmed. He dared to challenge Lu Ming because he had a foolproof plan. However, Lu Ming's expression was still calm. If soul attacks were useless, would Lu Ming not be able to deal with Wu Qindu? Whoosh! Lu Ming covered his body with the primal chaos domain and soared into the sky. Boom! 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 Following which, Lu Ming looked down from a high vantage point and threw continuous punches with his fists. Streaks of terrifying fist energy shot out like meteors towards Wu Qindu, the poisonous insects and the poisonous snakes. A large number of poisonous insects and toads were killed. The battle stage was littered with the corpses of insects, toads, and snakes. Pools of venom covered the battle stage, emitting a disgusting stench. Wisps of poisonous gas filled the battle stage. Haha, Lu Ming, thank you for your cooperation. The poison array has been set up. Now you can die. On the battle stage, Wu Qindu smiled coldly. Green poisonous gas spread out from his body and merged with the poisonous gas on the battle stage. The entire battle stage was shrouded in poisonous gas. 1,000 poison hands, Wu Qindu said coldly. The poisonous gas rolled and turned into poisonous palms that shot toward Lu Ming in the sky. Lu Ming used the wind origin technique to avoid the poisonous palms. In that case, I'll kill you first. In Lu Ming's hand, a Spirit King's spear appeared. He became one with the spear and dived down, charging into the poison gas array and attacking Wu Qindu. You can't kill me. Wu Qindu let out a cold laugh. With a bang, his body exploded and turned into clouds of poisonous gas, which merged with the poisonous gas of the formation. Lu Ming's long spear swept out horizontally, the poisonous gas tumbling endlessly. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and a formless soul attack erupted. However, there were countless poisonous insects flying within the poisonous gas. Lu Ming shouted, and a group of poisonous insects fell to the ground. Hee hee, Lu Ming, you can't hurt me at all. You can only passively let me kill you. Wu Qindu's proud voice rang out. The poison gas array churned, constantly surging towards Lu Ming. The terrifying poison gas enveloped Lu Ming, as if it wanted to corrode the primal chaos domain and then turn Lu Ming to ashes. Moreover, the poison gas would condense into attacks and attack Lu Ming. The long spear vibrated, destroying the attacks one by one. Lu Ming, rush down the fighting stage yourself, or be killed by me. Wu Qindu's cold voice rang out. You think too highly of yourself. Lu Ming said indifferently. If Lu Ming wanted to kill Wu Qindu, he could do it now. He just needed to cast the chaotic flipping sky seal. The terrifying power of the chaotic flipping sky seal could directly cover the entire fighting ring. He could easily destroy this array and even kill Wu Qindu. However, now was not the time to use the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Lu Ming wanted to save the primal chaos flipping sky seal to deal with the leader of the celestial god sect, or MOH. If he did not use the primal chaos flipping sky seal, he would have to use other methods. Buzz! Lu Ming's primal chaos domain suddenly spread out, enveloping the entire fighting stage. Then endless lightning appeared and filled the fighting stage, followed by flames. The entire fighting stage was enveloped by the power of lightning and fire. Chi, chi, poisonous insects were burned to death one by one. Kill, kill. Lu Ming continued to roar as he used the divine sword art, forming invisible waves that rushed out in all directions. A large number of poisonous insects were killed and turned into ashes in the lightning and fire. I don't believe that your soul power can keep on erupting. Wu Qiandu's voice rang out. There was a limit to a person's spiritual strength. Constantly using it would consume a lot of spiritual strength. However, after a while, Wu Qiandu became nervous. Lu Ming still did not stop. His soul attack continued to erupt, killing almost all of the poisonous insects. Kill! Lu Ming roared as the poisonous gas churned and Wu Qiandu's screams rang out. A cloud of mist gathered and churned, as if it was about to condense into a human form. Devour! Lu Ming took a step forward and pressed his left palm in the air. The devouring power erupted and enveloped the poisonous gas. Wisps of poisonous gas were devoured and refined by Lu Ming. The poisonous gas was terrifying. However, Lu Ming's spiritual body had reached the superior earth spiritual body. Moreover, Lu Ming's spiritual body contained traces of primal chaos qi, which was stronger than an ordinary superior earth spiritual body. Hence, he was not afraid of the poisonous gas. Roar! Lu Ming's body faintly rang out with a dragon's roar. Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas was being refined continuously. How can this be? My spiritual body is invincible. How can you refine it? Wu Qiandu's terrified screams rang out from the poisonous gas as he desperately resisted. Kill! Lu Ming roared as 2 rays of sword light shot out from his eyes and pierced into the poisonous gas. Wu Qiandu screamed, and his resistance weakened instantly. Lu Ming continued to erupt with his devouring power, devouring and refining Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas. As Wu Qiandu screamed, the poisonous gas became smaller and smaller. He wanted to reform his body, but Lu Ming directly attacked. With a punch, he turned back into poisonous gas and was devoured by Lu Ming. Soon, Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas was reduced by more than half. Spare me, spare me. Wu Qiandu was finally afraid and began to beg for mercy. This feeling of watching himself being refined made him extremely terrified. Moreover, he did not want to die. He had a great future. With his talent, he was very confident that he could break through to the Saint Realm in the future. A Saint Realm expert had a lifespan of more than 100,000 years. How free and unfettered was that? The people from the 13 sects were shocked. Wu Qiandu was actually forced to this step by Lu Ming. In the eyes of these geniuses, Wu Qiandu was definitely a terrifying existence. His 1,000-bathing poison body and his poisonous body made everyone wary. Even those geniuses who were at the same level as him were extremely wary of him. But now he was begging for mercy in front of Lu Ming. Spare you? Previously, you sent people from the Desire Poison sect to kill my disciples. Why didn't you spare them? Why didn't you think about the current situation? Lu Ming said coldly as his devouring power continued to devour Wu Qiandu. Wu Qiandu screamed as his poisonous gas churned. Before the battle with Lu Ming, how could he have thought of such an outcome? All he thought about was how to kill Lu Ming. Chapter 1540. Young man, don't go overboard. Don't go overboard. At this moment, an old voice came from one of the pavilions. Judging from the direction of the voice, it should be the Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect. Are you heartbroken? Why didn't you think about it when you killed my disciple? Lu Ming, you don't have to pay attention to this old man. The voice of the Saint State Elder of the Dragon God Valley came from the pavilion behind the Dragon God Valley. Young man, you should think about it. After all, you'll be traveling outside in the future. It's not good to go overboard. The Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect continued. Despicable. How dare you threaten my disciple? the Saint State Elder of the Dragon God Valley said. He, the Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect, sneered. Kill. However, Lu Ming's response was only one word, kill. Lu Ming's eyes emitted two beams of sword gleams that pierced into the poisonous gas. Wu Qindu screamed miserably. The ball of poisonous gas completely collapsed, and there was no sign of life left. Wu Qindu was dead. This was Lu Ming's response to the Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect. He was strong and merciless. At this moment, there was no sound from the pavilion behind the Desire Poison sect, but a cold, murderous intent filled the air. Of course, the Saint State Elders were not allowed to interfere in this situation. Otherwise, the other sects would gang up on them. Dead. Wu Qindu was dead. Most of the people present felt their hearts tremble. Another top-notch prodigy was killed by Lu Ming. In addition to Bai Mo, there were already two top-notch prodigies who had died in Lu Ming's hands. It was too tragic. In the past, very few top Earth spiritual bodies were killed. Even if there was a difference in combat power, it wouldn't be too big. It was possible to defeat them, but difficult to kill them. This time it was only the 20th round, but two top prodigies had already died and several others were seriously injured. Because of Lu Ming, the small meeting this time was several times more tragic than the past. Lu Ming put away Wu Qiandu's storage ring and returned to the platform. Then, someone went up to the fighting ring and cleaned it up. After all, the poisonous insects and snakes that Wu Qiandu had released earlier were all poisonous substances on the battle stage. On the platform of the Celestial God sect, the leader of the Celestial God sect looked at Tian Chue and Xuanixin coldly. This guy wants to challenge Tian Chue and Xuanixin in the next round. Lu Ming said, right now, Tian Chue and Xuanixin were both heavily injured. If the leader of the Sky God sect challenged them, it would be very dangerous. The leader of the Sky God sect obviously wanted to seize the opportunity to kill Tian Chue or Xuanixin. I won't let him succeed. Han Sun spoke, his killing intent cold. After cleaning up, the competition continued. Perhaps the atmosphere had been stirred up, but when it was the turn of the other sects, the atmosphere became even more intense. The other sects that had enmity with each other also began to send out their top experts to challenge the top experts of their enemy sections. After the battle between Lu Ming and Wu Qiandu, there were two more clashes between the top experts. In the end, the top geniuses of the Intentionless Saber sect and the Demon Castle both suffered heavy injuries and fell off the fighting ring. On the other hand, the top expert of the Linglong Palace defeated his opponent and won despite being heavily injured. Soon, it was the Divine Dragon Valley's turn. Han Sun stood up and stepped out onto the fighting ring. Yu Sheng, come down. Han Sun said coldly. Yu Sheng was the name of the leader of the Sky God sect. Everyone was shocked. Han Sun was challenging Yu Sheng. The leaders of the two sects were about to clash. Yu Sheng's eyes turned cold. His original plan was to wait until the next round, when it was the Sky God sect's turn to challenge, and then he would personally kill Tian Chue or Xuanixin. Obviously, Han Sun had seen through his plan and challenged him directly. Yu Sheng stepped out and landed on the fighting ring. It's the same if I kill you first. Yu Sheng said coldly. His body erupted with dazzling holy light. His entire person was bathed in the holy light, and there was no speck of dust. Yu Sheng was a direct descendant of the Sky God sect, and he cultivated the Sky God sect's techniques. Shameless boasting! Han Sun sneered, and a terrifying cold air burst out from his body. The cold air spread in all directions, and half of the fighting ring was covered in white frost. Boom! Boom! Yu Sheng and Han Sun charged at each other at the same time, and a fierce battle broke out. The two figures clashed continuously on the fighting ring, and their speed became faster and faster. Some of the weaker cultivators could no longer see the two figures clearly. They could only see the endless sacred light and the terrifying cold air on the fighting ring, forming a pillar of qi that shot up into the sky. Whoosh! Yu Sheng was bathed in the sacred light, and he held the god's punishment spear in his hand. He was like a god descending to punish the world. White dragon scales appeared on Han Sun's body, and his body was covered in a layer of ice armor. His arms turned into dragon claws, and they were terrifying. Clang! Clang! The dragon claws and the god's punishment spear clashed fiercely. Pucci! Han Sun's shoulder was pierced by the god's punishment spear, but Han Sun's other dragon clawed at Yu Sheng's chest, almost tearing his heart out. The two of them were injured at the same time, and their clothes were stained with blood, but the battle continued. To be honest, Han Sun and Yu Sheng's combat strength was terrifying, and they were even stronger than Bai Mo's. It could be said that in the future, they were very likely to be ranked among the top 10 geniuses of the Tsang state. After all, the top 10 geniuses were chosen by the younger generation below the Saint Realm. Once this year's top 10 geniuses broke into the Saint Realm, they would automatically be removed from the top 10 geniuses, and new geniuses would replace them. It could be said that these two geniuses of the future were fighting in advance. This battle went on for more than 300 moves, and their genuine essence and physical strength were gradually exhausted. In the end, it became a hand-to-hand fight. The two of them tangled together, and blood stained the fighting ring. Bang! In the end, the two of them rolled off the fighting ring at the same time, and the battle ended. Lu Ming moved and appeared beside Han Sun. His genuine essence flowed into Han Sun's body, and he said, "Senior brother Han Sun, are you okay?" "Don't worry, I'm fine. That guy is worse." Han Sun smiled. "Humph!" Yu Sheng snorted, and with the help of the disciples of the Celestial God sect, he landed on the spectator stand, took a healing pill, and began to heal. Lu Ming helped Han Sun to the spectator stand behind the fighting ring, and then returned to the fighting ring. In this way, there were only 3 people left in the Dragon God Valley. However, the people of the Celestial God sect all looked gloomy. After Yu Sheng's withdrawal, the Celestial God sect no longer had any top experts, and it was a joke to get first place. The battle continued, and soon this round was over, and the 22nd round began. In this round, the remaining disciples of the Celestial God sect had lost their morale, and they randomly sent out one person to challenge the other sections. After that, it was the turn of the Sky Universe Demon sect. He from the Sky Universe Demon sect stepped out with a demonic blade on his back. He landed on the fighting ring and looked directly at the Dragon God Valley. He glanced at Tian Chue and Xuanixin. Chapter 1541. He obviously wanted to challenge Tian Chue and Xuanixin. In the end, He's eyes fell on Xuanixin and said coldly, "Come out! Fight!" Xuanixin said and stepped forward. "Senior sister, be careful," Lu Ming said. Xuanixin nodded and stepped onto the battle stage. "I'll kill you in this battle." He's demonic aura surged as the demonic saber on his back unsheathed and slashed toward Xuanixin. Roar! Xuanixin roared and turned into her true form. She opened her mouth and spat out a stream of icy air toward the saber. Boom! An intense collision occurred, and Xuanixin's slender body trembled as she retreated. Xuanixin had been severely injured in the previous battle, and it was impossible for her to recover in such a short time. She was at a disadvantage from the start. Demonic Saber Division. The demonic saber in He's hand merged with his domain and slashed out again. The demonic saber division was the ultimate technique of the Sky Universe demonic sect. It was said to be able to split everything with a single slash. Snowflakes appeared around Xuanixin and flew toward the demonic splitting saber with a whistling sound. But when the snowflakes came into contact with the demonic saber division, they seemed to be affected by a terrifying vibration and exploded. Clang! 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 The snowflakes collided with the demonic saber, and the sound of metal clashing rang out. The snowflakes collapsed, but the power of the demonic saber was also rapidly weakening. Slash! Emohi's demonic aura surged as he slashed out again. Then he slashed out again. One slash after another, and each slash was extremely terrifying. It was as if they were going to split the sky. Xuanningshin's dragon claws stepped on the air and pounced toward Emohi. Boom! Boom! Terrifying explosions were constantly heard as the two of them exchanged more than 10 blows. Gradually, Xuanningshin was losing. Her injuries were acting up, and she couldn't use her full strength. Pucci! Dragon scales were cut and fell everywhere. Deep and long wounds appeared on Xuanningshin's body, and blood dyed her snow-white body red. Die! Emohi's devil saber pierced through Xuanningshin's attack and slashed at her head, trying to decapitate her. Xuanningshin retreated quickly, but it was still too late. A wound was left between her eyebrows. Xuanningshin was already heavily injured, and now that she was injured, her battle prowess was getting weaker and weaker. She was no match for Emohi. Senior sister, get off the battle stage, Lu Ming said to Xuanningshin telepathically. If this went on, Xuanningshin would be in danger. Roar! Xuanningshin shouted. She was unwilling to give up. After exchanging another blow with Emohi, she turned around and left. You want to leave? Stay. Emohi's demonic chi became even more terrifying. She soared into the sky and slashed out with her demonic saber. 8 saber lights slashed down, blocking Xuanningshin's path. Xuanningshin's dragon claws stomped on the ground, and the ground was instantly covered in a layer of ice. Ice swords rushed out and rushed towards the demonic sabers. Bang! Bang! Unfortunately, Xuanningshin's battle prowess was too weak to break through the demonic sabers. Instead, the demonic sabers left a deep wound on her body, almost cutting off one of her dragon claws. You can't escape. Demonic dragon seal, Emohi said coldly. His hands formed a seal, and a black demonic dragon roared and flew towards Xuanningshin. The 2 dragons, one black and one white, fought on the battle stage. Then, Emohi split the demonic saber and attacked Xuanningshin. After a few moves, Xuanningshin's injuries were even more severe. Break! In the end, Xuanningshin roared. Her true dragon body shrank rapidly, and a layer of ice covered her body, making her look like an ice sword. Whoosh! The ice sword kept colliding with Emohi's demonic saber. Finally, it rushed out of the range of the demonic saber and reached the edge of the battle stage. At this time, the ice covering Xuanningshin's body also collapsed. Xuanningshin's aura became even weaker. She stomped her dragon claws and rushed out of the battle stage. She let out a sigh of relief and quickly withdrew her aura. Die! Emohi roared and stood at the edge of the battle stage. His eyes were ferocious and filled with cold killing intent. He slashed his demonic saber at Xuanningshin's head. Xuanningshin's fall meant that the battle was over, so she completely let down her guard and withdrew her true yuan. She didn't expect Emohi to be so despicable and attack her again. Xuanningshin didn't have time to dodge this attack. You're courting death. On the platform, Lu Ming let out a roar and his true essence boiled. The black wings on his back suddenly extended. With a flap, he appeared next to Xuanningshin and flapped the demonic saber. Lu Ming, what are you doing? You interfered and used a saint weapon. You broke the rules. Seeing that his saber had been blocked by Lu Ming, there was a look of indignation in Emohi's eyes. Shut up! Who broke the rules? My senior sister has already rushed out of the battle stage and landed on the ground. She lost. This battle is over, but you still want to kill her. Are you the one who broke the rules? Or am I the one who broke the rules? Lu Ming stared coldly at Emohi. If he hadn't been watching the battle stage and immediately used a saint weapon to rush out, Xuanningshin would have been in danger. Oh, her foot landed on the ground? I didn't see it. Emohi quibbled. Lu Ming didn't say anything. He only stared at Emohi with cold killing intent. He had to kill this Mo-he. Senior sister, let's go. Lu Ming helped Xue Ningxin to the spectator stand. Junior brother, thank you for just now. Xue Ningxin had returned to her human form, but her face was somewhat pale. Senior sister, there's no need to be so polite. I will kill Mo-he to avenge you. Lu Ming said, I believe in junior brother. Xue Ningxin smiled. She swallowed a healing elixir and began to recuperate while Lu Ming returned to the platform. The challenges continued. As expected, when it was the Desire Poison sect's turn, an expert from the Desire Poison sect challenged Tian Chui. Like the Sky Demon sect, the Desire Poison sect also had 2 top experts. Wu Qiandu had been killed by Lu Ming, so there was only one left. The Desire Poison sect hated Lu Ming to the core and wanted to kill Tian Chui to avenge Wu Qiandu. However, Tian Chui's injuries were better than Xue Ningxin's. Moreover, Tian Chui cultivated the barbarian dragon body, so his defense was strong. However, Tian Chui was injured and couldn't defeat his opponent. After exchanging more than 100 blows, he was knocked off the stage. With Tian Chui's defeat, only Lu Ming was left in the Dragon God Valley. Countless gazes landed on the platform of the Divine Dragon Valley, and on Lu Ming alone. Chapter 1542. The challenges continued, and they were very intense. Now the competition had entered the second half, and the weak had been eliminated. The remaining people were all very strong, and the battles were very intense. One battle after another, it was finally Dragon God Valley's turn. Lu Ming stepped out and landed on the fighting stage. Mo-he, come down and die. Lu Ming's voice resounded throughout the area. As expected, Lu Ming is going to challenge Mo-he. In many people's hearts, Mo-he had violated the rules earlier and almost killed Xue Ningxin. Many people guessed that Lu Ming would definitely challenge Mo-he. Mo-he carried the demonic saber on his back and stepped onto the fighting stage. You've managed to escape the previous 2 times. Today, I'll finish you off. Mo-he spoke. Even though Lu Ming had already killed 2 top-notch powerhouses, he was still very domineering. Today, you won't have any chance. You will die without a doubt. Lu Ming said, and he was also very strong. Buzz! Buzz! The 2 stood facing each other, and their domains burst out at the same time, rushing toward each other. Boom! Their domains collided with each other, and there was a loud, rumbling sound. They were fiercely fighting. Mo-he's demonic Dao domain was at the peak of LV7, while Lu Ming's domain was only at the peak of LV4. However, Lu Ming's domain was not at a disadvantage at all. Their domains continued to clash and entangle with each other, stirring up a terrifying energy storm. Kill! Demonic Saber Division! Mo-he shouted and unsheathed his demonic saber. A shocking saber light broke through the sky and slashed toward Lu Ming. A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he used the 13th strike. A spear light burst out and collided with the demonic saber. There were 13 forces in the spear light, and they exploded with a terrible, penetrating power. However, there was a terrible splitting power in the demonic saber that was rapidly splitting the spear light's power. In the end, the 2 forces dissipated. Lu Ming's eyes moved slightly. The demonic saber of the Sky Universe Demon Sect was indeed worthy of its reputation. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, the 2 of them rushed forward and collided with each other like 2 bolts of lightning. The demonic saber and the long spear collided with each other, emitting a terrifying roar. Every time the 2 of them collided, a terrifying shockwave would erupt. The shockwave was rampant and swept out in all directions. Around the fighting stage, there was a transparent light screen that blocked the overflowing chi. Otherwise, some of the weaker people in the spectator stands would have been injured. Kill! After exchanging several moves, Lu Ming roared. 2 divine swords shot out of his eyes, shooting toward Mo-he. Lu Ming used the divine sword art, and 2 pitch-black swords entered Mo-he's body and attacked his spiritual divinity. However, Mo's body only trembled slightly and he was fine. A spiritual god defensive treasure. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. Your soul attack is useless against me. Mo, he sneered. His demonic saber swept out, taking advantage of this opportunity to attack Lu Ming. 1. Lu Ming's long spear shook, blocking the Devil Blade's attack. Then, the two of them clashed again, exchanging dozens of moves. In truth, Mo, he was indeed very strong. He was even stronger than by Mo and Wu Qindu, who Lu Ming had just killed. He should be comparable to Han Sun, the leader of the Celestial God Sect. Lu Ming's spiritual body and primal chaos domain gave him a slight advantage. However, Mo's cultivation was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's. The two of them fought fiercely, and it was difficult to determine a victor. Third bloodline. With a thought, Lu Ming's third bloodline appeared. A strand of energy entered Lu Ming's body, increasing Lu Ming's combat strength. Clang! Lu Ming's long spear swept out, and Mo's body trembled. He was forced back a long distance along the fighting stage. Divine Gate 9 seals. Lu Ming's hands quickly formed seals, and 6 sealing gates appeared around Mo, wanting to seal him. Demon God descends. Mo, roared. Demonic chi surged, and a huge demon god with 3 heads and 6 arms condensed around him. It exuded a vast demonic aura. This was a secret technique, or rather, it was a secret technique brought by Mo's spiritual body. It was very similar to by Mo's sword array. They were both secret techniques brought by spiritual bodies. Boom! The 3-headed, 6-armed demon god blasted out 6 palms, bombarding the 6 sealing gates. Boom! Boom! The 6 sealed doors trembled and directly exploded. At this time, Lu Ming's attack had arrived. The long spear smashed towards Mo, like a mountain. Boom! Boom! The 3-headed, 6-armed demon gods, 6 giant palms bombarded Lu Ming. 2 of them blocked Lu Ming's long spear, while the other 4 palms pressed down on Lu Ming like 4 mountains. Lu Ming's long spear shook, turning into layers of spear shadows, and blasted out. The long spear collided with the demon palms. In the violent explosion, Lu Ming and Mo's bodies were both pushed back. This brat, how long has it been? He has such combat strength. He must be eliminated. Mo, he was shocked. Back when he led people to hunt down Lu Ming did not have much strength to resist in front of him. But now, Lu Ming could fight him head-on, and it was difficult to tell who would win. In a while, what realm would Lu Ming reach? Wouldn't he surpass him in all aspects? Thinking of this, he felt a chill in his heart. He and Lu Ming were already mortal enemies. If they met in the future, they would definitely fight fiercely. One of them had to die, but in a while he was afraid that if he met Lu Ming again, he would be the one to die. Therefore, he had to kill Lu Ming now. Kill! Kill! Mo, he roared. His demonic chi seemed to burn, and the huge demonic god seemed to become corporeal. Shockingly, 6 huge demonic sabers appeared on the demonic god's 6 arms. Boom! Boom! Mo, he took a step forward and charged at Lu Ming. The huge demonic god brandished its demonic sabers and charged at Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. The power of his 3rd bloodline continuously poured into Lu Ming's body, causing Lu Ming's killing intent to become even stronger. At the same time, devouring power burst out and enveloped Mo, causing his demonic chi to become unstable. The demonic god's aura also weakened. Lu Ming took a step forward and soared into the sky. His long spear turned into a 1,000-meter-long spear light that smashed toward Mo. Mo's eyes were ferocious. He also used all his strength. The huge demonic god and the 6 demonic sabers continuously slashed at Lu Ming. The two collided fiercely. Spear light and saber light soared into the sky. Everyone, whether they were on the platform or in the spectator stands, held their breaths and stared at the fighting ring. They were afraid that they would miss the exciting scene. What strong combat strength! He can unleash such terrifying combat strength when he's below the 7th Martial Royal Realm. I'm afraid that even the 8th Martial Royal Realm would be killed by him. A genius above the 7th Martial Royal Realm said with a serious look. They're all peerless geniuses. In the future, they have great hopes of becoming the top 10 monstrous geniuses of the Tsang Prefecture. That's right. I wonder who will win this battle. Chapter 1543. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Mo, he had exchanged dozens of blows. At this time, the demon god that Mo he had condensed began to tremble. Clearly, maintaining this demon god was taxing on Mo he's true chi. Moreover, Lu Ming was constantly releasing his devouring power. Mo he could feel that his demonic chi was constantly being devoured by Lu Ming. This made his demonic chi even more difficult to sustain. Seal. At this time, Lu Ming used the sealed doors again. The 6 sealed doors shone brightly and suppressed the demon god. This time, the demon god was finally unable to break through the sealed doors, and his movements became stiff. Boom! Lu Ming seized the opportunity. His long spear turned into a huge spear light and smashed heavily on the demon god's head. 13 different powers instantly superimposed and exploded. Mo he roared, and the head of the demonic god exploded. Then the body of the demonic god exploded as well. In an instant, the demon god's entire body exploded. Mohi's body shook violently and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale. Retreat! He gritted his teeth and flew back. He knew that he had lost today. He was no match for Lu Ming. Now he had to rush down the fighting stage. You can't escape. Seal. Lu Ming said coldly. 6 sealed doors appeared in front of Mo, he blocking his way. He slashed out with his demonic saber continuously, but he couldn't break through the sealed doors. At this time, Lu Ming had already put away his long spear. He was holding a large seal in one hand. Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. Now, Lu Ming had cultivated the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal to the peak of the 3rd level. While its power was increasing, he was also becoming more proficient in using it. When he used the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal, he didn't need to use it at once like before. The consumption of true chi was terrifying. Now he could control the power of the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal. By reducing the power of the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal, he could save a lot of vital essence and control it more smoothly. For example, the seal that Lu Ming was holding in his hand was the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal that he had condensed. It had about 50% of its full power. However, if Lu Ming had used his full power, he would not have been able to hold it in his hand and control it to such an extent. With 50% of its power, it would be much easier for Lu Ming to control it. Boom! Lu Ming waved his hand and the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal smashed towards Mohi. Even with 50% of his full power, his attack power was still terrifyingly strong, surpassing the power of Lu Ming's 13 strikes of storing power. The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal was like an ancient divine mountain as it smashed towards Mohi. The vast power and shocking aura caused Mohi's face to change drastically. Mohi roared and turned around to block. His demonic saber slashed out continuously, hoping to block the attack. Boom! The splitting demonic saber slashed at the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. Not only did it not split the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal, but the demonic saber itself was shattered by the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal continued to smash down. In the end, he used his demonic saber to block in front of him. An Emperor's spiritual weapon armor appeared on his body. Together with the domain, it blocked in front of him. Boom! The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal smashed down heavily. Mohi's body shook violently as he retreated frantically. His face was pale as he vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His hands that were holding his saber were trembling nonstop. The bones in his wrists had been broken. He had paid such a heavy price to block the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. However, There was a loud rumbling sound from above as another primal chaos flipping sky seal came crashing down. Ah! Mo, he roared angrily as he exerted all his strength to defend himself. Bang! This time, Mo fell to his knees and coughed up a mouthful of blood. His arms exploded, and his demonic saber flew far away. As for Emohi's body, even with the protection of his ruler armor, he was unable to withstand all of the power. The frightening power shattered many of Emohi's bones. However, to Emohi's despair, the third primal chaos-flipping sky seal came crashing down on him. No, this time, Emohi roared in despair. This time, he would not be able to block it. If he could not block it, he would die. Come out. Emohi roared as a small black pagoda flew out from between his eyebrows. A vast aura emanated from it. A sacred weapon. This small pagoda was a sacred weapon. Wong. The sacred weapon expanded rapidly and collided with the primal chaos flipping sky seal. The small black pagoda was sent flying. Mo, he vomited blood again as he rolled on the fighting ring, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. He broke the rules by using a sacred weapon. Use a sacred weapon and kill him. The disciples of Dragon God Valley roared. Whoosh! The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley stepped out from the pavilion behind Dragon God Valley. His eyes were cold as he said, using a sacred weapon on the fighting ring will result in death. The Sage Realm Elder struck out with his palm, and a huge palm print pressed down on Mo. What are you doing? An elder rushed out from the pavilion behind the Empyrean demon sect. He struck out with his palm, sending out a blade light that shattered the Saint Realm Elder's palm print. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley looked coldly at the Saint Realm Elder of Empyrean demon sect and said, "Before the battle began, I already announced that anyone who uses a sacred weapon will be killed. Are you trying to stop me? Elder, Elder, save me." Mo, he screamed in horror. The Saint Realm Elder of Empyrean demon sect frowned and said, "How about we spare him this time?" Spare him? You should ask the Taoists of the other sects if they agree. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley sneered. Whoosh! Whoosh! Many figures stepped out from the pavilions. They were the Saint Realm Elders of the 13 sections. The rules have been passed down for tens of thousands of years. We can't break them. Since they violated them, kill them. The Elder of Life and Death Sword faction was the first to speak. That's right. If everyone uses a sacred weapon, what's the point? How can we tell how strong the younger generation is? It's just a competition of how many sacred weapons they have. So we must kill him, the Demon Castle Elder said. I agree. We must kill him. If he didn't use a sacred weapon, he would have been killed already. I agree. The elders of the other sects spoke one after another. Emohi's face was filled with despair. Only the elders of Celestial Divinity Sect and Poison Desire Sect didn't speak. No, I don't want to die. Emohi roared and turned into a ray of demonic light, about to rush into the distance. Die. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley roared, and a terrifying sound wave rushed toward Emohi. Emohi's body exploded in midair. Even the sacred weapon pagoda didn't have any effect. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Is this the strength of a Saint Realm Elder? He didn't even attack. He just roared and killed Emohi. Chapter 1544. Lu Ming, this sacred weapon is your spoils of war. Keep it. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said. Thank you, Elder. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and kept the small pagoda sacred weapon. Of course, he also kept Emohi's storage ring. These were his spoils of war, and he did not stand on ceremony. Humph! The Elder of Sky Universe Demon Sect glanced at Lu Ming coldly before he turned around and returned to his pavilion. The other sect elders also returned to their pavilions. Lu Ming, you've done well. You've made a great contribution this time. The sect will reward you accordingly. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said with a smile. This made you Blizzard Silver City, and the others in the spectator stands jealous. Lu Ming smiled and returned to platform 10. He sat down cross-legged and waved his hand. A large pile of origin stones appeared. Lu Ming devoured the origin stones and started to recover. Lu Ming had used up a lot of energy in the previous battle. He did not have much true origin left. Everyone on the spectator stands looked at Lu Ming with fear. In this small gathering, 3 top geniuses had died at the hands of Lu Ming. If he had not used a sacred weapon, he would have been killed by Lu Ming. Therefore, he had been killed by Lu Ming. 3 top geniuses from Heavenly God Sect, Sky Universe Demon Sect, and Poison Desire Sect. This was a great loss. In the past treasure peddling gatherings, such a situation rarely happened. Moreover, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the peak of LV for Martial Royal Realm. It was a miracle that he had achieved such a result. In the treasure peddling gatherings, top geniuses who had reached LV6 Martial Royal Realm were extremely difficult to kill. However, this time, Lu Ming had killed 3 of them. Back then, the Divine Son's cultivation was at the peak of LV6 Martial Royal Realm, and he had only killed 2 geniuses of this level in the treasure peddling gatherings. Now, the Divine Son was the top of the top 10 geniuses. Lu Ming had already broken the record of the Son of God. The 13 sects and forces all had different thoughts in their minds. The challenges continued. After Lu Ming's challenge, it was the turn of the Demon Castle on platform 13 to challenge. This was because the Piyuan family on platform 11 and the Blood Demon House on platform 12 had already been eliminated. After the Demon Castle challenge ended, this round also came to an end. Next, it was the Heavenly Divinity Sect's turn again. The Heavenly God Sect's people glanced at Lu Ming with deep fear. They then sent out 1 person to challenge the other sections. Next, it was the Sky Universe Devil Sect's turn. Although they wanted to avenge Mo, no one dared to challenge Lu Ming, so they could only challenge the other sections. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the platform, but no one dared to challenge him. Soon, it was the Desire Poison Sect's turn. The Desire Poison Sect still had a top genius who had defeated Tian Chue previously. However, when he looked at Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with deep fear. How would he dare to challenge Lu Ming? He sent out another person to challenge the other sections. When it was the Dragon God Valley's turn again, no one dared to challenge Lu Ming. When it was Lu Ming's turn again, everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming. They didn't know who Lu Ming was going to challenge this time. Everyone's hearts were beating fast, especially the Heavenly Divinity Sect, the Sky Universe Devil Sect, and the Desire Poison Sect. Whoever was challenged by Lu Ming would be courting death. Lu Ming stepped onto the platform. After the cultivation, just now, his true yuan had completely recovered. The devouring power allowed him to recover his true yuan by devouring origin stones at an astonishing speed. No one could compare to him. Lu Ming's gaze fell on the Desire Poison Sect side. He wanted to challenge the only top expert left from the Desire Poison Sect. Just now, this person had challenged Tian Chue. He wouldn't let him off so easily. The Desire Poison Sect's expert stepped onto the platform with an ugly expression. However, the moment he stepped onto the platform, he immediately rushed to the back. He wanted to rush off the platform. Many people were speechless. This person had a superior earth spiritual body. He was as famous as He and Wu Chindu. However, he didn't even dare to fight and wanted to rush off the platform. It was clear that this person was afraid of Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming charged towards this person. However, this person's spiritual body was a poisoned spiritual body. His vitality was extremely tenacious. Moreover, he wanted to escape and didn't want to fight. On this small platform, it was difficult for Lu Ming to kill him. In the end, his opponent successfully rushed off the platform at the cost of a certain amount of injuries. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. It was a pity. In this way, the Heavenly Divinity Sect, the Sky Universe Devil Sect, and the Desire Poison Sect a total of 7 top experts, were all defeated. The competition ended prematurely. There wasn't much suspense in the rest of the competition. With Lu Ming holding the fort alone, no one dared to fight him. Every time it was Lu Ming's turn, he would choose a genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect to kill. This made the geniuses on the Heavenly Divinity sect's platform extremely afraid. In the end, in order to survive, they purposely didn't fight and rushed off the platform. They even challenged the Sky Universe Devil sect and the Desire Poison sect in order to preserve more lives. The 3 sects were forced to such a state by Lu Ming alone. This was rare. After this battle, Lu Ming's name was destined to spread throughout the Tsan continent. The challenges continued. Because the Heavenly Divinity sect's method was equivalent to admitting defeat, they were the first to be defeated. This move of the Heavenly Divinity sect is really beautiful. Where did they learn it? Someone from the Dragon God Valley mocked. The Heavenly Divinity sect's disciples on the spectators stand all flushed red, but no one retorted. They didn't have the face to refute. Before the treasure pedestal meeting, the Heavenly Divinity sect had announced that they would be the champion 3 times in a row. But now it had become a joke. If they hadn't used the correct strategy to eliminate the 3 weakest sects in advance, they might not even be able to enter the top 10. After the Heavenly Divinity sect was eliminated, Lu Ming targeted the Desire Poison sect. Lu Ming considered that Xian Yanqing was the saintess of the Sky Universe Devil sect. So after killing him, he didn't continue to challenge the other disciples of the Sky Universe Devil sect. This made the disciples of the Sky Universe Devil sect heave a long sigh of relief. The Desire Poison sect was in a miserable state. They were all frightened, and in the end, they adopted the Heavenly Divinity sect's method and became the 2nd sect to be eliminated. As the competition continued, the number of people left from each sect decreased. Even the Life and Death Sword sect only had a few people left. In this battle, the Life and Death Sword sect was the same as before. Although they had fewer people, they were all elites with terrifying combat strength. Luo Xiang also rose in this battle. With his cultivation of the LV5 Martial Royal Realm, he had killed many LV6 Martial Royal Realm geniuses. Gradually, one sect after another was eliminated. However, there was still one person sitting cross-legged on the 10th platform. Lu Ming. Lu Ming was the only one left in the Dragon God Valley. However, Lu Ming was as steady as a rock and didn't move at all. In the end, will Lu Ming be the last to leave the Dragon God Valley in first place? Someone muttered. Many people looked at each other in dismay. If that was the case, it would be a legend that would be passed down for hundreds of years. Whoosh! A sword light flashed, and Luo Xiang stepped onto the fighting stage. Lu Ming, how about we spar? Chapter 1545. Was Luo Xiang going to challenge Lu Ming? Many people were surprised and looked forward to the battle. Lu Ming was undoubtedly the biggest dark horse this time. He was only a LV4 Martial Royal Realm cultivator, but he had killed a few top earthly spiritual bodies and forced the Heavenly God sect, Poison sect, and the other sects to challenge other sects and lose on purpose. Luo Xiang was not weak either. Those who knew Luo Xiang knew that he was a terrifying person. He had stopped at the peak martial saint realm for 15 years to nurture his sword soul. Now he was able to kill LV6 Martial Royal Realm geniuses as a LV5 Martial Royal Realm cultivator. His strength was unfathomable. Moreover, the Life and Death Sword art was terrifying. What would happen if Luo Xiang challenged Lu Ming? Lu Ming stood up and stepped out of the fighting ring, facing Luo Xiang. Lu Ming, how about we settle this in one move? Luo Xiang said. Sure. Lu Ming said. To be honest, he had a good impression of Luo Xiang. Luo Xiang was a true sword cultivator. He was sharp, decisive, and righteous. He had his own bottom line. Previously, when the Heavenly God sect, Heavenly Universe Demon sect, and Poison sect were hunting the Dragon God Valley, Luo Xiang could not stand it anymore and killed the Heavenly God sect's experts. He was a man who lived for the sword. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. My life and death swordsmanship can determine life and death with one move. It has the meaning of I live and you die. If you can block my move, you win. Luo Xiang warned, give it your all. If I die under your sword, I can only blame myself for not being good enough. Lu Ming said. There was a strong desire to fight in his eyes. He wanted to see the life and death sword art that was famous in the Tsang continent. Clang! Unsheathing his battle sword, Luo Xiang's body emitted a terrifying aura that soared into the sky. At that moment, Luo Xiang seemed to have turned into a peerless sword. He was no longer a human, but a sword. However, the sword in his hand was not a sword, but a person. At that moment, Luo Xiang's sword seemed to have come alive with a soul. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He felt a strong pressure from Luo Xiang. It was rare to see a LV5 Martial Royal Realm cultivator giving him such a strong pressure. Lu Ming's true essence began to circulate rapidly. The Emperor's spiritual weapon long spear appeared in his hand, and the chaotic domain spread out. At the same time, Lu Ming's muscles and bones were wriggling slightly, ready to launch a terrifying attack at any time. Whoosh! At that moment, Luo Xiang made his move. A sword gleam cut through the void and pierced toward Lu Ming. Under this sword light, the void seemed to have been pierced through. Everything in the world seemed to have lost its color. It was as if this sword light was the only thing left in the world. Terrifying, sharp, and accurate. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if there was a terrifying sword aura pressing down on his body, making it difficult for him to move. In the face of this sword, it was as if he could only be killed. Roar! At this moment, there was an earth-shattering dragon roar from Lu Ming's body. The dragon roar was vast and mighty, as though a real dragon had ascended to the 9 heavens. Lu Ming's true yuan surged as he broke through the Luo Xiang's sword art. He merged with his spear and thrust forward. He had used the 13th strike of the accumulating force. The spear was covered in the chaotic domain. The sword art and the spear seemed to be the only things in the world at that moment. Clang! The spear and the sword art collided with each other like 2 meteors in the sky. A blinding light was emitted from the point of impact. It was like the sun had suddenly exploded, causing the heavens and earth to be filled with white light. Many people felt a piercing pain in their eyes. Those with weaker cultivations could not help but close their eyes. How terrifying! Who won? Those with stronger cultivations opened their eyes wide and stared at the scene before them with their true yuan. The blinding light disappeared in a flash. When it disappeared, the crowd could see a figure flying backward and landing on the fighting ring. The figure took a few steps back before coming to a stop. Luo Xiang. The one who retreated was Luo Xiang. At that moment, Luo Xiang's face was extremely pale. His hand that was holding the sword was trembling slightly. Lu Ming stood motionless. Dragon scales appeared on his body. What a terrifying sword! Lu Ming let out a long breath. There was a trace of shock in his eyes. In the moment of collision, Lu Ming's chaotic domain that covered his spear had been pierced through by Luo Xiang's sword qi. The terrifying sword qi followed the spear and broke into his body. Dragon scales appeared on his body to block the sword qi. Even so, there was still a tearing pain on the surface of his skin. From this, one could see how terrifying Luo Xiang's sword was. The life and death sword art. One sword could decide life and death. Every sword was a sword that could kill. Luo Xiang was much stronger than when he was in the Tsang Emperor's secret realm. This strength did not refer to the increase in cultivation, but the ability to fight against those of the same level. At that time, Lu Ming's spiritual body was only a low-grade earth spiritual body, but he could still defeat Luo Xiang. At that time, Luo Xiang was on the same level as Wang Jian and Shitian. But now, Luo Xiang could easily kill Wang Jian and Shitian of the same level. Spiritual body is still a mid-grade earth spiritual body, but it can release such a sword. Unbelievable. Lu Ming thought, I lost. Luo Xiang put away his sword and clasped his fists towards Lu Ming. That sword could be said to be Luo Xiang's strongest sword. If he couldn't defeat Lu Ming with that sword, he would lose. After saying that, Luo Xiang turned around and jumped off the stage. Lu Ming did not chase after him. He and Luo Xiang were originally exchanging pointers. After Luo Xiang jumped off the stage, Lu Ming turned around and returned to the platform. The challenges continued. The following battles calmed down, but there were undercurrents surging. Because more than 30 rounds had passed, there were very few people left on each platform. It was about to end. The remaining people were all experts. After a few more rounds, there were less than 10 people left on the 13 platforms. However, the remaining people were all top experts. Most of them were at the level of Bai Mo, Han Sun, and Mo. At this time, the people from the Heavenly God sect and Sky Demon sect had all been eliminated. A new round had begun. It was the Heavenly King Palace's turn to challenge. The Heavenly King Palace was very strong, not weaker than the Sky Demon sect and Poison sect. Now, there were only 2 people left. Both of them were top experts. There was only one person left from the Demonic Moon sect. The leader of the Demonic Moon sect was also a top expert. There was only one person left from the 9 Heaven Sword sect, also a top expert. There was only one person left from the Linglong Palace, also a top expert. There was also one person from the Life and Death Sword faction and the Good Demon Castle. Including Lu Ming, there were a total of 8 people. There were only 8 people left. On the surface, the Heavenly King Palace was the strongest with 2 people left. However, at this time, all the platforms were silent. The 2 top experts from the Heavenly King Palace glanced at the other people, but the one who they looked at the most was Lu Ming. The powerful figures from the other sects also cast their gazes on Lu Ming. Their gazes were solemn. Chapter 1546. According to the rules, the last person standing would get 7 Imperial Jade Pills as a reward. Who wouldn't want that? But if they wanted to get the Imperial Region Pills, they would have to defeat the others. Among the 8 people present, Lu Ming was undoubtedly a mountain that everyone who wanted to get first place had to overcome. Previously, Lu Ming had already displayed his terrifying combat strength and was able to kill top experts. The other 7 people were all wary of him. No one was confident that they would be able to defeat Lu Ming alone. There was a high chance that they would be defeated. Therefore, they were extremely cautious in challenging him now. Heavenly King Palace, it's your turn. Hurry up and challenge him. The remaining Sky Prides from the Demon Castle said, What's the hurry? One of the Sky Prides from the Heavenly King Palace said coldly, Everyone, all of you want to get first place, right? A youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said, Isn't that obvious? The Sky Prides from the Demon Castle said, Of course. Who doesn't want to get first place? That's 7 Imperial Region Pills. Not only that, but you can also become famous in the Tsang State. The leader of the 9 Heaven Sword sect said. The others nodded. That's right. We all want to get first place. But I'll be honest. With Lu Ming here, none of us can get first place. The youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. The others were silent. It was obvious that they agreed. Then what do you want to do? The Sky Prides from the Demon Castle asked. Let's team up and take turns to defeat Lu Ming. Then we'll fight out. The youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. Lu Ming glanced at the 2 from the Heavenly King Palace. He wasn't too surprised. With the combat strength that he had displayed previously, he had already expected that the other sects would take turns to fight him. Just like what the youth in purple gold armor had said. If they didn't defeat him, the others wouldn't be able to get first place. However, would it be that easy to defeat him? Lu Ming's lips curled into an inexplicable smile. I don't agree. There are 2 people from the Heavenly King Palace. Taking turns to fight him is beneficial to you. The Sky Prides from the Demonic Moon sect on the 4th platform sneered. Xiasha, this is the only way. If you don't do this, I'll challenge you now. Are you confident that you can defeat me? Even if you win, how much combat strength do you have? Even if I don't challenge you now, you will challenge someone else later. Who do you think you can challenge? The Heavenly King's Palace's purple golden-armored youth asked a few questions, causing the others to fall silent again. That was indeed the case. After that, every battle would be a battle of the peak. No one could guarantee that they wouldn't be injured after defeating their opponent. That would only benefit the people behind them. In the end, no one was a match for Lu Ming. They had no other choice. I agree. The Demon Castle's genius was the first to agree. His geographical position was the best, so he could take turns fighting Lu Ming. After all, it would be his turn last. After so many rounds, Lu Ming would most likely be defeated. He would be at the back and could conserve his strength. I agree too. The Ling Long Palace's outstanding talent also spoke. The Ling Long Palace's position was also relatively towards the back. In the end, the Nine Heavens Sword sect nodded in agreement. In the end, only Xie Sha from the Demonic Moon sect was left, and his expression was ugly. His position was only behind the Sky King Hall. After the Sky King Hall's challenge, it would be his turn. I will be the first to challenge. The purple golden-armored youth from the Sky King Palace said, All right, I agree. In the end, Xie Sha also nodded in agreement. At this point, he had no other choice. Luckily, the purple golden-armored youth was the first to challenge Lu Ming. At least he could exhaust some of Lu Ming's battle strength. When the time came, he might have a chance. After Xie Sha agreed, the purple golden-armored youth from the Sky King Hall stepped onto the battle stage. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, how about you fight with me? As you wish. Lu Ming stepped out and landed on the battle stage. The purple golden-armored youth's eyes were solemn as he said, Lu Ming, how about we fight? Let's spar without killing each other. What do you think? Sure, Lu Ming said. He had already offended the Heavenly God sect, Sky Universe Demon sect, and Poison Desire sect. He didn't want to offend any more sections. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, the purple golden-armored youth heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, it was a lie to say that he wasn't afraid of Lu Ming. After all, he was the one who had suggested taking turns to fight Lu Ming. He was really afraid that Lu Ming would kill him in a fit of anger. He wasn't confident that he could get out of the battle stage successfully. Be careful. The purple golden-armored youth's body emitted a purple gold light. Even his skin had turned purple gold, making him look like a heavenly king. Boom! The purple golden-armored youth stepped onto the battle stage. His body was like a giant beast as he charged towards Lu Ming. He threw out a punch, causing the void to tremble. The purple golden-armored youth's fist smashed towards Lu Ming. Without a doubt, he was a genius on the same level as Han Sun and Mo Hao. If it was a normal battle, even Lu Ming would have to put in a lot of effort. However, Lu Ming didn't plan to fight a normal battle with the youth. Lu Ming's hands moved at a rapid speed, like a phantom. A huge, chaotic, cyclic sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The chaotic, cyclic sky seal wasn't at full strength. Like the previous battle with Mo Hao, it was only at 50% of its power. 50% of its power was enough. Lu Ming threw the chaotic, cyclic sky seal at the purple golden-armored youth. The purple golden-armored youth's face changed drastically. He had seen the terrifying power of this move when Lu Ming had fought with Mo Hao. Heavenly King Pagoda! The purple golden-armored youth roared. His purple gold body swelled and he grew taller. The purple golden-armored youth's body shone brightly as he threw out both palms at the chaotic, cyclic sky seal. Boom! The purple golden-armored youth's palms hit the chaotic, cyclic sky seal. His burly body shook violently as the purple golden-armored youth's body flickered and exploded. Bam! The purple golden-armored youth couldn't even stand properly. His bones creaked as he knelt down and spat out a mouthful of blood. Boom! At this time, Lu Ming started to form the chaotic, cyclic sky seal again. "Wait a minute, I don't want to fight anymore," the purple golden-armored youth shouted. Then he rushed to the side of the fighting ring and flew to the spectators' stand behind the Heavenly King's Hall to heal his injuries. Lu Ming didn't chase after him. This could save his true essence. The chaotic cyclic sky seal that was halfway formed dissipated. The others looked at each other in dismay. The purple golden-armored youth was defeated by Lu Ming in one move and rushed off the fighting ring. Was the gap in their combat strength so big? The gap is not that big. Lu Ming's move should be his most powerful, unique move. Its power is shocking. However, such a unique move consumes a lot of vital essence. It is also very terrifying. That's right. I believe Lu Ming can only use a few moves with such a move. Chapter 1547. Lu Ming returned to the 10th platform. Next, it was Xiaxa's turn. Xiaxa's face turned ugly. The purple golden-armored youth had only blocked one of Lu Ming's attacks before he was defeated. God knows how much true essence Lu Ming had used. If he were to challenge Lu Ming now, he was not confident at all. However, even if he went back on his promise and gave up on challenging Lu Ming, he wouldn't be able to make it to the end. If he didn't challenge Lu Ming, he would challenge others. However, none of the remaining challengers were weak. Even if he won, he would definitely be injured. Then the next challenger would definitely challenge him, and he would definitely lose. Fight! Xiaxia gritted his teeth. He knew that he wouldn't be able to make it to the end. He might as well challenge Lu Ming and leave a good name for himself. With a movement of his body, Xiaxia landed on the fighting ring. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, how about we fight?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. He took a step forward and returned to the fighting ring. Buzz! Lu Ming didn't waste any time. He stepped onto the platform and formed a seal with his hands. A chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hands. Boom! Lu Ming threw the chaotic flipping sky seal at Xiaxia. Xiaxia's face changed drastically. Evil qi surged from his body. A blood-red moon appeared in his hands, and he threw it at the chaotic flipping sky seal. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The blood-red moon and the chaotic flipping sky seal clashed. After a few breaths, the chaotic flipping sky seal collapsed. Xiaxia's body was sent flying, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Lu Ming in shock. He finally understood how terrifying Lu Ming's chaotic flipping sky seal was. What kind of attack is this? Why is it so terrifying? Xiaxia thought to himself. Bam! Lu Ming stepped forward and walked toward Xiaxia. "I've lost this battle," Xiaxia shouted and rushed down the fighting stage. Like the purple golden-armored youth, he admitted defeat. These people had selfish motives. After receiving the first move, they understood that they were no match for Lu Ming. Otherwise, given their strength, they could receive the second move of the chaotic flipping sky seal. However, in that case, they would be seriously injured. Like the purple golden-armored youth, they were going to lose anyway. Why fight so hard? If they were severely injured, it would affect their cultivation. It would be better to leave it to the next challengers. Therefore, Xiaxia was the same as the purple golden-armored young man. After receiving one attack, he immediately admitted defeat. This time, Lu Ming did not return to the platform. His gaze landed on the Nine-Heaven Sword sect powerhouse. Next, you should be challenging me, right? Come down. Swoosh! With a flash of sword light, the genius of the Nine-Heaven Sword sect stepped onto the battle stage. Just like before, let's spar and not fight to the death. The prodigy of the Nine-Firmament Sword sect said. Sure. Lu Ming said, and a chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hand. Lu Ming didn't want to waste time and threw the chaotic flipping sky seal at the Nine Heavenly Sword sect's disciple. The huge, chaotic flipping sky seal was like a mountain, completely enveloping the opponent. In such a battle platform, it was difficult for the opponent to dodge. He could only take it head-on. A sword chime sounded, and a bright sword light shot up to the sky, slashing at the chaotic flipping sky seal. In the next moment, the sword light shattered and the chaotic flipping sky seal slammed down, causing the 9 heavenly sword sect's disciple to vomit blood. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. He didn't want to lose like this, but he didn't know how many more moves Lu Ming could make. Fight! The 9 heavenly sword sect's disciple became one with his sword and turned into a bright sword light, slashing at Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming's body was covered in the chaotic domain. Another chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hand and attacked the 9 heavenly sword sect's disciple. Oh no! The 9 heavenly sword sect's disciple was shocked and quickly retreated. He wanted to dodge, but under the chaotic flipping sky seal he couldn't. Break! The 9 heavenly sword sect's disciple slashed out hundreds of times. The bright sword light collided with the chaotic flipping sky seal, causing sparks to fly. The 9 heavenly sword sect's disciple grunted as he was blasted off the battle platform by the chaotic flipping sky seal. His clothes were stained with blood, and his face was as pale as a sheet. After taking 2 consecutive blows from the chaotic flipping sky seal, his injuries were more serious than the previous 2. How can Lu Ming's attack be so powerful? Indeed, it's too powerful. There's no way to fight it. The key is, how many times can he make such an attack? He's already made 4 attacks in a row. He should be reaching his limit soon. In the battle platform, Lu Ming looked at the Linglong Palace's disciple. The Linglong Palace's disciple was a beautiful woman. In fact, all the disciples of the Linglong Palace were women. Each of them was as beautiful as a flower. The Linglong Palace's disciple stepped forward with a beautiful smile on her face. She said softly, "Mr. Lu Ming, please have mercy on me." Her fragrance made one want to take pity on her, making one reluctant to make a move. However, Lu Ming condensed a chaotic flipping sky seal and threw it at the other party. The beautiful woman's face changed. She waved her hand and countless petals appeared. The petals formed a huge hand and pulled at the chaotic flipping sky seal. However, the result was the same. The huge hand collapsed, and the beautiful woman slid 100 meters away on the battle platform. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. "Mr. Lu Ming, you don't know how to be gentle with a woman." The beautiful lady wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth and glared at Lu Ming, seemingly coquettish and angry. "Fairy, you have amazing combat strength. If I were to be gentle with you, I would be the one to lose." Lu Ming took a step forward. The chaotic aura in his palm was rich, and it kept on rolling. The beautiful woman had amazing combat strength. She was the least injured after taking his chaotic flipping sky seal. "Young Master Lu Ming, I wonder how many moves you can unleash with such a powerful move." The beautiful woman smiled. "Why don't you give it a try?" Lu Ming smiled. Another chaotic flipping sky seal formed in his hand. The beautiful woman looked solemn. Countless petals swirled around her. The endless petals were colorful, making the beautiful woman look like a goddess. Boom! Lu Ming attacked for the second time. The second chaotic flipping sky seal blasted out. This time, the petals around the beautiful woman formed a shield in front of her. The chaotic flipping sky seal pressed down and the shield exploded. The beautiful woman retreated to the edge of the battle platform. Her body trembled and she spat out a mouthful of blood. "Fairy, do you want to try again?" Lu Ming asked. The beautiful woman's expression changed. Finally, she sighed and turned to leave the battle platform. Lu Ming had defeated another person. At this moment, the whole place was silent. Lu Ming had already defeated 4 people consecutively. Every one of them was a top-notch prodigy, a top existence who participated in the small gathering this time. However, Lu Ming had defeated 4 people consecutively. In addition to the 3 people that Lu Ming had killed previously, this time, Lu Ming alone had defeated 7 top-notch geniuses like them. Chapter 1548. However, this was not the end. There were still 3 people left. Would Lu Ming continue to create miracles? Would they be able to witness the birth of a miracle? After the beautiful girl from Linglong Palace, it was the turn of the strongest genius from life and death sword faction. He was a cold-looking young man in a black robe. Just by standing there casually, he seemed to be emitting wisps of sword qi. He took a step forward and landed in front of Lu Ming. Powerful sword qi whizzed out and filled the fighting ring. "Make your move," the genius from life and death sword faction said indifferently. He was not like the others who had agreed with Lu Ming beforehand that there would be no life or death battle. For life and death sword faction, there was no such agreement. Their swords were too dangerous. Once they struck, it would be a life or death battle. Facing the genius from life and death sword faction, Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. Boom! A chaotic cyclic seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand and blasted toward his opponent. Clang! The battle sword was unsheathed, and a terrifying sword radiance cut through the void and slashed toward the chaotic cyclic seal. The dazzling sword radiance hit the chaotic cyclic seal and made an unpleasant sound. Bang! In the end, the terrifying sword radiance and the chaotic cyclic seal collapsed at the same time and dissipated in the air. Lu Ming and the genius from life and death sword faction did not move at all. He blocked it. The genius from life and death sword faction blocked Lu Ming's attack. How terrifying! Life and death sword faction is indeed worthy of their name. Their combat strength is so terrifying that they can block Lu Ming's attack head-on. Terrifying! The others are no match for them at all. I don't know how many more moves Lu Ming can make like that. This is going to be interesting. The fact that the genius from life and death sword faction could block Lu Ming's attack attracted a lot of discussion. At the same time, many people were excited and were guessing who would win. Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. He had already fought a few people in front of him, and the terrifying attacks had already been unleashed 7 times. Would Lu Ming's vital essence be able to withstand it? On the platform, the only remaining genius from the Fiend Castle and a genius from the Sky Seat Palace both had extremely grave expressions on their faces. The genius of the life and death sword faction and Lu Ming were too strong. With the two of them around, they had no hope of reaching the end. Let's hope that both of them are seriously injured. The Sky Pride of the Heavenly King's palace thought to himself. Not only him, but the young man from the Demon Castle also thought the same. If Lu Ming and the young man from the life and death sword faction were both injured, then they would have a chance. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. To think that his opponent was able to block his primal chaos flipping sky seal unscathed. His combat prowess was truly terrifying. Again, the genius of the life and death sword faction had an intense battle intent in his eyes as he slashed out with his battle sword. Another terrifying sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming once again condensed the primal chaos flipping sky seal and collided with his opponent. This time it was still a tie. What a powerful sword technique! I can only increase the power of the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Lu Ming thought to himself. He formed a seal with his hands, and another primal chaos flipping sky seal was condensed. However, the power of this primal chaos flipping sky seal was 70% of Lu Ming's full power. A terrifying aura filled the air, and everyone was shocked. How can this be? Lu Ming's attack seems to have become stronger. This is unbelievable. Did he not use his full power just now? The scene was in an uproar as everyone was shocked. Lu Ming had not used his full power when he had unleashed such a terrifying attack. Now he had increased the power of his attack. What was Lu Ming's limit? Boom! The primal chaos flipping sky seal, which was 70% of its power, was directed towards the genius of the life and death sword faction. Life and death in a thought. The genius of the life and death sword faction said coldly. Then a sword light burst forth as he became one with his sword. A terrifying sword light slashed towards the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The sword light and the primal chaos flipping sky seal dissipated. A figure retreated rapidly to the edge of the fighting ring before he could stabilize himself. It was the genius of the life and death sword faction. At this moment, the genius of the life and death sword faction was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. "I've lost." After a moment of silence, the genius of the life and death sword faction said. He took a step forward and rushed down the fighting ring, landing on the spectator stand of the life and death sword faction. Phew! Secretly, Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. He felt that he was lucky. The genius of the life and death sword faction was not seriously injured. If he had continued to fight, he would have been in trouble. This was because his true essence was about to be exhausted. He had used the primal chaos flipping sky seal so many times. Although he had not used his full power, the consumption of his true essence was still shocking. After so many times, his true essence was severely depleted. With the defeat of the genius of the life and death sword faction, there were only 2 people left on the fighting ring. Next, it was the turn of the youth from the demon castle. "Do you want to continue to challenge me?" Lu Ming looked at the youth from the demon castle. The youth from the demon castle looked terrible. However, he had no choice but to fight. Boom! The youth from the demon castle landed on the fighting ring, causing it to rumble. "Lu Ming, I don't believe that your true essence is endless." The youth from the demon castle let out a roar. His body swelled rapidly and turned into a giant ape that was dozens of meters tall. The ancient divine ape was a terrifying divine beast. There was no doubt that the true form of the youth from the demon castle was an ancient divine ape. Moreover, it was a pure-blooded ancient divine ape, a true divine beast. Roar! The ancient divine ape let out a roar. A huge iron rod appeared in its hand, and it smashed towards Lu Ming. Wind element skill. This time, Lu Ming did not use the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Instead, he used the wind element skill to dodge the attack of the ancient divine ape. Many people were stunned. Why did Lu Ming stop attacking? Although the ancient divine ape was strong, it was at most on the same level as Mo. It was not as strong as the genius from the life and death sword faction. Why did Lu Ming not defeat it directly? In the next moment, they all knew the answer. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a pile of origin stones appeared. The devouring power in Lu Ming's hand exploded, and he started to devour the origin stones. He is absorbing the origin stones to recover. His true essence can't continue, it's all used up. Many people shouted. The eyes of the people from the Heavenly King's Hall and the demon castle lit up. Lu Ming had finally exhausted his true essence? Roar! The ancient divine ape was even more excited. The iron rod in its hand smashed towards Lu Ming like a storm. If he did not use this opportunity to defeat Lu Ming, he would not have another chance. Lu Ming used the wind element skill and dodged the attacks of the ancient divine ape. At the same time, he devoured the origin chi of the origin stones and refined them rapidly. Boom! 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 Shadows of the rod smashed on the fighting ring, causing it to rumble nonstop. Lu Ming's body flickered as he shuttled through the shadows of the rods. The ancient divine ape is not good at speed. Damn it. Chapter 1549. At this moment, he was the most anxious person. He could not wait for the ancient divine ape to blast Lu Ming off the fighting ring. It would be best if Lu Ming retaliated appropriately and injured the ancient divine ape. That would be perfect. That way, he could easily defeat the ancient divine ape and clinch the victory. However, the ancient divine ape was not good at speed. Although its attacks were strong, it could not hit Lu Ming. Don't run! The ancient divine ape roared. Its iron rod kept swinging, but it could not hit Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored it and focused on refining the origin stones. Junior brother Lu Ming, go for it! Tian Chue and Xue Ningxin cheered for Lu Ming from the Dragon God Valley stands. Lu Ming will win. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley also cheered. Right now, they were getting closer to the final victory. Most of the disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley hoped that Lu Ming would emerge victorious. It had been many years since the Divine Dragon Valley had won the first place at the Treasure Ding Ding meeting. Of course, there were a few who did not want Lu Ming to win. Those were the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley and Hiyu. The ancient divine ape will smash him to death. Hiyu's eyes widened as he stared at the fighting ring. He did not want Lu Ming to win. Instead, he hoped that Lu Ming would be defeated or killed by the ancient divine ape. The disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley had similar thoughts. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. Lu Ming's movement technique was fast. The ancient divine ape was not good at speed. No matter how Hiyu attacked, Lu Ming would always be able to dodge it. The fight went on for more than 10 minutes. No, this can't go on. Lu Ming keeps dodging. What's the point? Let's declare him the loser. That's right. Are we going to keep this up? The disciples of the monster castle yelled. Humph! There is no rule in the treasure sorting party that says that you can't dodge. Movement technique is also a part of your combat power. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley sneered. Then, if this continues, when will it end? 3 days? 5 days? Lu Ming is absorbing origin stones to restore his true essence during the competition. This is simply impossible. The origin energy he absorbs is less than the energy he consumes using his movement technique. If this continues, then he won't be able to finish the competition in half a month. The people from the Demon Castle retorted. The people of Dragon God Valley remained silent with cold faces. Indeed, if this were to go on, who knew when it would end? Furthermore, in the midst of the competition, absorbing the ores would definitely not be fast. This was not the way to go. Who said it would take 3 to 5 days? At this moment, Lu Ming's figure stopped and a faint voice was heard. Then a dragon's roar was heard and a punch was thrown out. Boom! Lu Ming's fist collided with the iron rod of the ancient divine ape, blocking the iron rod's attack. Not running anymore? Many people were stunned. If you don't want to run, then you'll lose. The ancient godly ape roared and continued to attack Lu Ming with the iron rod. This time, it was even more powerful than before. You're the one who will lose. Lu Ming formed a seal with his hands, and a huge chaotic flipping sky seal appeared above the ancient godly ape's head and pressed down on him. It's that move again. How is this possible? Didn't he use up all his true essence? How can he use it again? Impossible. How can he absorb and refine the origin stones so quickly? Many people shouted in disbelief. They did not know the wonders of the devouring power. The devouring power could devour and refine the ores at an astonishing speed. Although it had only been a few minutes, it was enough for Lu Ming to recover a lot. It was enough for him to use the chaotic flipping sky seal at 50 to 60% of its strength a few times. The chaotic flipping sky seal pressed down, and the pressure made the ancient godly ape's heart palpitate. He could not care less about attacking Lu Ming and swung his iron rod upward. Boom! The huge iron rod hit the chaotic flipping sky seal and a loud boom was heard. The ancient godly ape roared and his huge body shook violently. He kept retreating, and the ground rumbled when he stepped on it. The ancient godly ape's arms kept shaking, and he almost lost his grip on the iron rod. Blood kept flowing out of his fangs. Buzz! The sky shook, and another chaotic flipping sky seal was formed. I admit defeat. The ancient godly ape roared, and his body shrank rapidly. He ran out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming smiled and waved his hand. The chaotic flipping sky seal in the sky dissipated. The ancient godly ape rushed down the fighting ring. There was no need to continue the fight. He knew that he would lose when Lu Ming formed 2 chaotic flipping sky seals in a row. Hence, he admitted defeat. Another person. Lu Ming had defeated another person. In addition to the 3 people he had killed, 9 top Supreme Talents had been defeated by Lu Ming. There was only one person left, and that was 10 people. Come on, let's decide the winner. Lu Ming looked at the last person, the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall. The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall stepped onto the fighting ring and looked at Lu Ming with a solemn expression. Lu Ming, although you have absorbed some origin stones, you haven't recovered much. How many more moves can you make? The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall asked to test Lu Ming. Why don't you give it a try? Lu Ming smiled. Of course. The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall was filled with fighting spirit. His body started to turn golden. There was only one battle left. The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall would not give up. Perhaps Lu Ming did not have much true origin left. As long as he could withstand a few more moves, he would be able to defeat Lu Ming. He had to take a gamble and fight with all his might. Heavenly King Apocalypse. The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall turned golden. His body swelled up like the youth in purple armor, but the color was different. A golden giant sword appeared in his hand, and he charged at Lu Ming. At that moment, a chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Boom! The chaotic flipping sky seal flew out and collided with the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall. In the golden light, the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall was sent flying. The golden light around his body dimmed, and he spat out blood. He was injured in one move. However, the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall did not give up and continued to charge forward. He was betting that Lu Ming's true origin would be depleted soon. However, to his despair, another chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Boom! This time, the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall was even more injured. Many of his bones were broken, and his body shrunk. His aura was much weaker. However, there was still a look of determination in his eyes. He did not want to give up. Boom! Another huge primal chaos flipping sky seal appeared in the sky. I have lost. At that moment, the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall said helplessly. He knew that it was impossible for him to win. With this move from Lu Ming, he would definitely die. He struggled to charge out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming looked on calmly. The chaotic flipping sky seal did not attack. After the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall rushed out of the fighting ring, Lu Ming waved his hand and the chaotic flipping sky seal disappeared. Whoosh!